We will call our meeting to order for May the 28th. I looked at the clock and realized we were tardy in starting, and I know everybody's in there or has their bright smiling faces in their places, so we won't delay much longer. I think I'll start by having Commissioner Dozier. You want to introduce our invocation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am very excited to welcome Pastor Derek McGee from Bible-Based Church to join us today, and also a member of Faith Food Friday Village Square's God Squad. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you very much. Can we please stand? Let us pray. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. It is an honor to be able to stand here before this great commission as they prepare to do the work of our county. It is my prayer that you would endow them with wisdom, guidance, instruction. As they consider decisions, help them to see clearly that which they're doing, the impact it will make. We thank you for their service, for their sacrifice, for their commitment to the constituency of Leon County. We pray for this gathering. Pray for those who are in attendance, that you will meet them at the point of their needs. Thank you that we live in this county, within this city, within this state, within this country. Thank you for the blessed privilege to know that you are all sufficient and all knowing. As we sincerely this prayer, we again ask that you would cover these commissioners, they govern themselves accordingly. Guide their hands, guide their minds, guide their decisions, that the impact will be positive and impactful for your glory, the livelihood of your people. We thank you now. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. As Commissioner Dozier makes her way to the dais, I did want to recognize we have a clerk of court sighting here in the commission chambers. Is that correct? Hey, clerk of court Wynn Marshall, thank you for joining us today. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to welcome Rabbi Jack Romberg to join me at the podium here. Today, it's a very special privilege for me to give a proclamation honoring 18 years of service by Rabbi Jack Romberg to Temple Israel and to our entire community. He is here with his wife, Audrey Romberg, and Bruce and Wendy Weiner, chair of the board for Temple Israel. Derek McGee, who just gave our invocation, as I said, is a member of the Faith Food Friday God Squad Village Square. And in so much of what Rabbi Romberg, Jack, has done over the years is outside of the temple. I could go in, we could talk about what has happened at the temple for sure. I could wax personal and say that whether you're 9 years old or 69, it still hurts when your best buddy leaves town, and my father is gonna miss his weekly lunches with the rabbi. They have done Torah studies for years. Even though my father never converted, he married a wonderful Jewish woman, Kelly Dozier, and got him into the temple family. But really for today, we're going to focus on what Rabbi Romberg has done for the community in general. And from my perspective, and I think many of us, Jack has helped lead an interfaith dialogue unlike this community has ever seen. You'll hear some details about that in the proclamation. But I have witnessed, whether it's in Village Square, conversations about race relations or gun violence or response to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and other more positive celebrations in our community. We have really started to bring the faith community together in so many different ways, and Rabbi, you've been a leader in that, so thank you. And with that, I will read the proclamation. Before you were a rabbi, let me restart this. Whereas Jack Romberg entered the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion as a rabbinical student at the age of 42 to begin a journey in expanding his intellectual curiosity and nurturing his search for spiritual meaning. And whereas in August 2001, 2 months after being ordained as rabbi, Jack Romberg began his service to his Temple Israel congregates and the Leon County community. And whereas Rabbi Jack Romberg has continuously given back to his community through his service to countless boards and organizations, including the Board of Directors of the Tallahassee Symphony Orchestra, 2002 to 16, co-chair of Tallahassee Equality Action Ministry, the Board of Directors of Capital Regional Medical Center from 2007 to 13, and a citizen member of the Tallahassee Democrats editorial board in 2008. And whereas in 2001, in response to the September 11th terrorist attacks, Jack Romberg co-founded and helped launch Tallahassee, okay, this is going to be better, forgive me, Tallahassee Interfaith Clergy, a diverse group of local faith leaders committed to interfaith conversations and cooperation, which today has more than 50 members. And whereas Jack Romberg was a founding member of the Village Square, having served on the board of directors from 2014 to 2018, including as board chair from October 2016 through October 2018. And whereas Jack Romberg is a founding member of the God Squad, a group of 5 diverse clergy who host Faith Food Friday, a gathering that provides a safe space to debate the difficult issues your mother warned you never to discuss in polite company, politics and religion. And whereas in 2017, Jack Romberg worked tirelessly with the Tallahassee Symphony Orchestra and the Holocaust Education Resource Council to help bring Giuseppe Verdi's Requiem Mass to life in Tallahassee during the Requiem of Resistance concert. And whereas Jack Romberg has been a frequent guest lecturer at Florida State University on a range of topics, including business ethics from the Jewish perspective to social work, and regularly teaches classes as part of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. I am told they are the most popular class and fill up early. And whereas at the conclusion of his service here in Tallahassee, he will have given us 18 years, a significant spiritual number in the Jewish tradition, symbolizing life. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that today we honor and celebrate Rabbi Jack Romberg for his continuous devotion to his congregation, his family, and his community through his ongoing message of hope and unity. We wish him well as he enters a new phase of life, away from the pulpit and more time with his wife, Audrey, their 2 daughters, Carrie and Abby, their sons-in-law, Andy and Jamie, and their 3 grandchildren, Amelia, Simon, and Libby. And it is signed by the full board and the county administrator. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
I have not much to say because I'm crying, actually. It's been an honor to be here. I have to say, though, that there is one person particularly responsible for my ability to do this. On the day that our family decided to shut down our factory, our manufacturing business, and to sell it off, I got home and I told my wife, Audrey, what we decided. And she looked at me and she said, now you can do what you always really wanted to do, which is this. And then the next night, we lived in Philadelphia at the time, I came home and there was an issue of the Jewish Exponent, a Jewish newspaper in Philadelphia, and on the front page was a picture of a newly ordained rabbi who was 46 years old and serving at a congregation in Philadelphia. And she pointed to him and said, that can be you. You got to go meet him. So I have to thank my wife, Audrey, more than anyone for giving me the opportunity to do this. Thank you so much.
Justin, if you don't mind, we're going to hold on the picture for 1 second. Jack, I'm going to give you this because I actually have a second proclamation. And in honor, it's a perfect segue here. Audrey Romberg, will you please join me? So, As the rabbi just said, this amazing woman, Audrey Romberg, not only said, go do it, as a guidance counselor and raising 2 children, to let and support her husband to go back to rabbinical, or to go to rabbinical school. So I don't think I need to say this after your kind words there, but for any of us who have titles or in the public eye, we're used to going to events, and whether we want to or not, we speak most, right? It's just the way it is. And we know we would be nothing without the support we have from those who are joining us at the event or taking care of the family while we go back to school or anything else. But it does not lessen these folks' incredible contribution for the community. And Audrey, you have given us 18 years as well. So, as a proclamation for Mrs. Audrey Romberg, whereas Audrey Romberg came to Leon County in 2001 to begin a new chapter of life with her husband Jack, the newly appointed rabbi of Temple Israel. And whereas prior to her arrival in Tallahassee, Audrey worked as an educator and guidance counselor to support her husband's passion of becoming a rabbi, and at one point spending a year apart from Jack, raising their daughters as he studied in Israel. And whereas upon arriving in Tallahassee, Audrey Romberg wasted little time before immersing herself fully into the community through her service to a wide variety of causes and organizations. And whereas with her strong background in education, she began her work at the Florida Center for Reading Research, FCRR, conducting research and testing in local schools while helping teachers to improve their teaching strategies. Through FCCR, she worked with more than 350 preschool and kindergarten students in Tallahassee. Whereas Audrey Romberg spent 9 years as a member of the board of directors for the School of Arts and Science, dedicated to her work to growth and success at the school. And whereas as a volunteer at the Fort Braden School, whose principal is our chairman, and I know Chairman Jackson supports this notion fully. As a volunteer at Fort Braden School, Miss Audrey, as she is affectionately referred to by our students, helped to foster a relationship between the school and the Florida Center for Reading Research to show growth in reading scores among the countless students she has served. And whereas Audrey Romberg has spent years supporting the Holocaust Education Resource Council, providing guidance and resources to educators who teach the history of the Holocaust and supporting education programs throughout the community, most recently serving on the HERC Board of Directors from 2018 to 19. And whereas throughout her years in Tallahassee, she has given her time to numerous other organizations, including Dress for Success, as a Pink Pearl sponsor of TMH Foundation, Friends of the Chain of Parks Art Festival, and an ongoing sponsor of the Village Square. And perhaps most importantly, whereas Audrey Romberg may be best known for her award-winning matzo ball soup recipe, which has been served to hundreds over the years at the Temple Israel Jewish Food and Cultural Festival. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that we honor and celebrate Audrey Romberg and for your steadfast commitment to our community. We wish her well as she and Jack continue their journey together, splitting time between homes in South Ponte Vedra Beach and New York City, and spending more time with their 2 daughters, which is the same as in the other proclamation. There you go. And with that, I know you two are going to love spending time with the grandchildren and everything else, but I do hope we come back. Audrey, thank you for your contribution to our community. Do you want to say anything? Okay, there we go. All right. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you very much.
I want to make a quick comment, and then I'll allow anyone else that wants to as I move to the dais. But Rabbi, I want you to know that we're going to miss you greatly, but the little 5-year-old and 6-year-old kids at Fort Braden School are going to miss Audrey more than you could ever imagine. I'm so proud to have worked with her and see her in her daily travels. We would meet. We have a common area right outside the front office, and we would meet as she was headed one way going to work, and I was headed in the other direction going to work for another reason. But I do appreciate all of the efforts she had and those hundreds of kids that she touched along the way. So thank you so much for sharing it with us, and thank you for your work.
Jack, thanks for everything you've done. You're my friend, and you've made Tallahassee a better place, and we're thankful for that. Jack's been a regular at my Wednesday morning skeptics group over the last 10 or so years as a kind of a guest commentator. And he set the stage the first time he came. I thought it's mostly a group of Christian guys get together early in the morning, but so Jack came in and lectured a little bit on, how the Jewish faith sees certain things. And the first time he came, I'll never forget, we got 2/3 of the way through, and one of the more outspoken members said, Rabbi, with all due respect, that's the most condescending, self-serving comments I've ever heard. And I thought, oh, Jack is my friend. What have I brought him into? And he said, it took you this long to take the bait. How do you think we felt all these years? And let me tell you, it was off to the races from then. And he has been in demand with our group pretty regularly. So anyway, for all you've done in our community and for your balanced approach about seeing things, you're my friend. I'll miss you. And thanks for everything you've done.
All right, I'm next. This time I'd like to ask our Leon County Sheriff, would have introduced him and staff, if appropriate, we can have them come up for the picture in a moment or come up now, either way. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good to see you. This is an important recognition of our All-In initiative, and when I say our, we owe it to the man directly next to me, and the initiative and the work that he's done with this at Leon County Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Commissioner Maddox, for recommending the proclamation at our previous meeting and then allowing me to present it today. I appreciate that. Whereas Leon County, Florida, is committed to providing a safe environment for citizens to reside, work, and visit, and the commission of any violent crime in Leon County is a great public safety concern, whomever it is. Academic research studies have found that acts of violence can be deterred through the implementation of active prevention, intervention, reentry, and law enforcement initiatives that specifically address critical social and physical needs of a community, families, children, and formerly incarcerated citizens. And whereas Sheriff Walt McNeil orchestrated a proactive, directed focus initiative to strategically deter and decrease the occurrence of violent crimes through coordination between law enforcement partner agencies, community social programs, and mental health providers, as well as business leaders, entitled All In Leon. And whereas the Violent Crime Reduction Initiative, All In Leon, provides the coordination of public and private resources required to attain an effective long-term and substantial outcome to reduce the risk of violence and build stronger families in our community. And whereas an effective deterrence from violent crime can be attained through planned intervention measures administered by social service organizations and enforcement of protective laws while holding responsible persons accountable as such. And whereas the deterrence of crime with an emphasis on prevention is necessary to effect a long-term reduction in victimization because of violence, drug use, theft, and family conflicts, and whereas because children and pre-adults who attend Title I schools are disproportionately exposed to those variables that increase their risk of becoming involved in crime, the Leon County Sheriff's Office has established a Youth Advisory and Intervention Council, Worship With Me initiative, and the Youthful Offender Program, Back on Track, to address family conflict, substance abuse, teen pregnancies, school dropout, and young adult depression and violence. And whereas All In Leon is comprised of a partnership between the Leon County Sheriff's Office, United States Attorney, the Office of State Attorney, and other local law enforcement agencies, which will enforce laws where the occurrence of violent acts committed by individuals or groups were not prevented through intervention strategies. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Leon County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby call on all citizens of Leon County to support the Violence Reduction Initiative, All In Leon, of the Leon County Sheriff's Office, which operationalizes best practices, evidence-based programs, and processes to encourage positive social behaviors to decrease violence and Other Crimes in Leon County. The proclamation is signed by my 6 colleagues on the board, as well as the county administrator, and I am humbled to present this to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners, for agreeing and seeing that the problems we have in Leon County relative to crime requires all of us. Every citizen of Leon County must be engaged in some way, fashion, or form if we're going to wrestle this issue to the ground. We have significant challenges ahead of us. As you perhaps know, we've consistently over the last 5 months have had a shooting or at least one, and most times 2 or 3, every week for the last 5 months, totaling somewhere near 40 shootings, not to mention the other aspects of crime that take place in our community. So thank you for your recognition of the fact that we all have to take ownership of this issue and try to figure out how we implement the best practices that the proclamation speaks to. One of those things, obviously, is we in the Leon County Sheriff's Office, the Tallahassee Police Department, and our federal and state partners are engaged in a all hands-on-deck effort to deal with the crime problems we see. Make no mistake about it. You will see an increase in the number of persons arrested in Leon County. In fact, we have an operation that will take place the week of January 3rd, and that will involve all those partners I spoke of, going after the people involved in drugs and crime in our community. We want the citizens of Leon County to understand and that means that you are going to see more police officers, more federal and state agencies in your communities on the streets of Tallahassee, Leon County, trying to deal with this problem. But we understand that law enforcement isn't the only way to deal with this problem. So we are also focused on trying to do those things we spoke of. We have a 4-point plan, and it deals with prevention as a huge aspect of what we do. And we're partnering with all of our social service providers to deal with the prevention issues. We also realize that the joblessness that takes place in our community adds fuel to that problem that we have. So we're trying to reach out to the business community. In particular, we're reaching out to the business community to see if, in fact, they will support our efforts to give dollars to support Crime Stoppers. Perhaps you know, and I'm sure Crime Stoppers have been to see you, commissioners, and each and every year they run a deficit, you might say. And we need the tips to come in, and we need somebody engaged in that process. So we're looking to the business community, and I'll be sending out letters to as many businesses as we can, asking them to make contributions to Crime Stoppers so that we can operationalize Crime Stoppers much more effectively than we have today. And I guess the last thing I will say about this is that we are focused on working with our clergy. And I was so happy to see Rabbi Rambar here today, and in fact, the things that he has done in our community, and other clergy all across our community. We need you. So the Worship With Me component is huge, trying to deal with and get young people engaged in some type of faith-based activity. So we'll be ramping all that up over the next several months. And as I said, we'll kick this off. We've already kicked it off, but you'll see a significant number of different police officers and law enforcement on the streets of Tallahassee, Leon County. Thank you for your support. We will give you some idea of how we are going as the time progresses. The operation will give some feedback in terms of what our arrests we're making. But again, the biggest message we wanted to share today, and thank you for the proclamation, is that this requires each and every one of us understanding we play a role in trying to do something about the crime that we see here in Leon County. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner. And before I do that, if I could, I've got a number of people here, particularly the peacemakers. Would you guys come up, Pastor James and Ms. Henry and other members of the Peacemaker? The Peacemaker piece is you guys were presented with Cure Violence several years ago, and I think they came with a price tag of millions of dollars to put people on the streets to try to make interventions. Well, the Peacemakers and the leadership of pastor here, Pastor James, and Christique Hendry. They've done that at a lot less cost, and they're being very effective out there in the community in terms of trying to deal with the kids who are involved in gangs and drugs and that sort of thing. So I want to thank them, and if you can tolerate us for just a little longer, I'd like to see if Ms. Henry would say a few things about the Peacemakers.
Thank you, Sheriff. Of course, it is not a no-brainer. The folks that committed the crimes are integral to working together with the community to de-escalate and to remediate crime. And that is the simple sauce that we work by. We are a de-escalation and prevention arm of the community. We are working and very glad to be working with our law enforcement professionals at the Sheriff's Office to do this. And I can just say this, for the past 3 months since February, we talk about the 30 shootings that have been happening, but they're not talking about the 17 that these gentlemen have de-escalated and prevented from happening. Yeah, you can clap. It's good. Just as important in fighting crime is preventing crime. And so they have a 3-point strategy to do that through advocacy, de-escalation on the street level, and prevention through economic opportunity and access. So we'll continue to work with the Sheriff's Office to develop this program for Tallahassee, and we look forward to repeating it in other cities that have already asked us to come through and help them to form their strategy against crime in their communities. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff, just want to thank you for taking on this All In initiative. It's been managed since you got into office as our sheriff. Particularly, I was out at the press conference. I decided to stand in the crowd and kind of listen to what was going on around me. People are really impressed with it. The holistic view of the way you try to address crime within our community, the All In initiative itself, is one that takes into consideration that you can't arrest your way out of some of the problems that we're dealing with. Prevention has to be a piece of it. The community has to be a piece of it. Even us as elected officials have to be a piece of the solution when it comes to us addressing our crime problem here in Leon County. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you because, you know, a lot of people say, well, go out and hire more officers, go out and make more arrests, but that's simply just not the answer. The answer is us coming together as a community and addressing the problem. Us, you know, holding ourselves accountable for what's happening in our own backyards. People like the Peacemakers, de-escalating situations when they can, or even us, you know, when we're in the communities that we may not live in, seeing situations happen, us ourselves de-escalating situations ourselves. It simply comes down to being a good neighbor, extending our neighborhoods behind, further than the boundaries within the neighborhoods that we live within, to recognize that Leon County itself, if you live in Leon County, is your neighborhood. And I think that's the essence of what All In is about. And so, again, I've been impressed from the jump. I read the plan as I received it when I was at the press conference. But I just want you to know that, you know, despite, you know, what people may say out in the community, the shootings that we have this year, this is a plan that will be effective in our community. This is a plan that can work if everybody buys in. Now, if we got a couple people who just said, hey, it's just, you know, this is just a gimmick and it won't work, then no, it won't work. But let me tell you, it's not a gimmick. If we all buy in to the thought that we all need to be in together on this, then we can have a real effect on what happens in this community. And Sheriff, you started that, and I really appreciate that. To the Peacemakers, I grew up around Peacemakers. The world wouldn't be the same without you. It's positive to see folks who have gone through challenges come back to a community instead of letting those challenges stop you from contributing to the community, using those challenges as a way to help out the community. Nobody can identify with someone who's committed a crime or who is about to commit a crime better than the person who has already committed that crime or who has already committed a crime. So the work that you're doing in our community is important. It's very important. If nobody else tell you, I'm here to tell you. Again, I grew up around Peacemakers. They're some of the best people that you'll ever meet. And sometimes they're some of the best people you'll ever meet because they have had those challenges and they've been through adversity and they know what it's like to come from that adversity to a place of being able to help out in the community. And so I appreciate what you do as well. Continue to do what you're doing. Sheriff, again, all in is what we need to be doing in this community. And I'll repeat it to every news outlet, every person in this community that I know, because I think it's going to be effective. And so keep going. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might follow Commissioner Maddox.
I'm sorry. Can I jump in really quick? Commissioner Broder, I apologize. I have to step out really quick for a second, but I wanted to make one comment. And Commissioner Maddox, you were so eloquent in your comments that I can say ditto to all of that. It's not the most eloquent word, but I will say that anyhow. But Sheriff McNeil, I do appreciate you coming here and bringing everyone with you and up to the podium. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago before your press conference, and then to see the press conference, the reaction to that. Everyone in this room knows we have a lot of press conferences, a lot of different programs, announcements. There's always substance behind it. It's how effective that might be. And I think this one, as Commissioner Maddox said, the holistic approach that you're taking is really unique. And two things stand out to me today. You mentioned Crime Stoppers. We hear a lot from the business community concerned about crime. This is all in, as you've been saying for a long time. We really do need the business community to step up to help us with this. It is one of the best ways to help get tips so you all can solve crime and other things. Ms. Christique Henry and I met last week, and Pastor James, thank you, and I wish I knew everyone else's names who are up there, but to all of you, the Peacemakers program is incredible. But Ms. Henry, Pastor James, to bridge these communities is not an easy task, and thank you for doing that. We each have our own areas, but to build that bridge, to bring people together so that we can make sure the peacemakers are connected with law enforcement and we all are comfortable and we know, that is an exceptional effort that you all have done in a very short amount of time, and it should not go unnoticed. So thank you, Sheriff, for bringing them up, and I truly celebrate every day what you all are doing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Sheriff McNeil, I want to thank you for the holistic approach which Commissioner Maddox lifted, that your efforts to fight crime. I want to thank you, too, for your support of the 32304 Summit Series, which your office has given support. The thing all in is a significant topic, and I'm appreciative, too, that not only for 32304, which has been identified as our state's most impoverished zip code area, but that for the Crime Stoppers, that you've taken leadership efforts to make sure that that plank is at full throttle as an agency to funnel tips into the machinery which helps to apprehend persons who've committed crime in our community. But this is also a poignant moment that when the sheriff says all in, when we as a commission have opportunity to support, not with just verbal, things like Crime Stoppers, and we don't, or 32304, and we don't. It's a poignant moment to say that we have to tighten up as a commission, that we're not just saluting and reading proclamations to a sheriff who sees and gets the big picture, and we see it as through him. And when we have opportunity to support the same people, and it's and I hope that we would have, what I'm trying to say, Commission, is an opportunity to re-tee up the option to lend support from taxpayers to Crime Stoppers, which solicited our help. We may have that opportunity in the budget coming briefly soon to us, and perhaps the 32304 initiative, which the sheriff does support and has put his money where his mouth. There are opportunities when we have that we have not taken, and I'm asking this commission to tighten up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next up, I'm going to ask a few of our youth from Talcon Electric Cooperative Youth Group to come on up. Ms. Green? Hi.
Tracy Bensley, the general manager, is here as well.
And Mr. Bensley, Tracy Bensley, General Manager, is joining us today. This amazing group of people are getting to go on a incredible vacation really soon. So we wanted to, thank you. We wanted to recognize them for some unbelievable work that they've done. Whereas the Talcon Electric Cooperative Youth Tour has brought high school students to Washington, D.C. for a week in June every year since the late 1950s, and whereas Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson inspired the youth tour when he addressed the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association annual meeting in Chicago in 1957. The senator and future president declared if one thing comes out of this meeting, it will be sending youngsters to the national capital where they can actually see what the flag stands for and represents. And whereas students gain a personal understanding of American history and their role as a citizen by meeting their representative and senators, and whereas while student groups are organized at the state level, they all come together for Youth Day, where they get to meet each other, hear featured speakers, and provide insight to the important roles electric cooperatives play in their communities and towns. And whereas nearly 50,000 students from rural areas and small towns all across, America have participated in this program, and whereas some of the Youth Tour alumni have gone on to design airplanes, lead companies, and serve in the highest ranks of our government, whereas Talcon Electric Cooperative proudly participates in the National Rural Electric Youth Tour to be held on June 15th through 20th. I'm not available, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to Washington with you guys, and has selected Ariana White from St. John Paul II Catholic High, Jacqueline Cruz from Leon High School, and then Elena Cornegay and Sharia, did I say it right? I got it right. All right. Patel from Lawton Childs High School to represent our community this year. Now therefore let it be resolved that the Leon County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the importance of the National Rural Electric Youth Tour and Talcon Electric Cooperative's participation in it. And furthermore, we proudly recognize these delegates as this year's community participants as they visit historic landmarks, continue to learn more about cooperatives in government. Signed by all 6 of my colleagues on the County Commission, as well as our County Administrator, Mr. Long. I'm going to present that to you, Mr. Bensley. I'm sure one of these young people want to step up and speak. All right.
I just wanted to say thank you guys because this youth tour has already been quite the amazing experience for us. We haven't even made it to Washington, D.C. yet. That'll be on June 15th. But we got to participate in the state-level youth tour, which is actually here in Leon County. We were able to explore Mission San Luis, go to Fun Station, which is pretty fun. And then but something that was really cool was that I personally am very interested in politics and government, and we were able to visit the state capitol, Senate, and House of Representatives and learn about the legislative process, and we even got to meet Andrew Gillum. Oh, not Andrew Gillum, Ron DeSantis. Oops. Sorry. But that was still really cool. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Talcon, everyone, for this great program. And I'll just say, local government is great too, so we can do tours up here as well, right? But really excited for y'all, and thank you very much.
Let me weigh in real quick here too while the chairman's back up here. Tracy, thanks for your leadership. You have been a great partner in the post-disaster work, and your organization continues to shine with programs like this. So thank you.
No other commissioners in queue to speak. Mr. Administrator, our consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we have no consent items pulled.
Second.
All right, motion's been made to accept the consent agenda, made by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mr. Administrator, any citizens to be heard on non-agenda items?
We have 2 speaker cards in. The first one, Dr. Ed Holyfield.
Good afternoon, Dr. Holyfield. Your name and address for the record, sir.
I had also asked to speak on the consent agenda. That was a mistake. But in any event, Dr. Holyfield, Longleaf Court, and I doubt any of you folks would mistake me for being Jewish, or my wife, as far as that's concerned. But just as an aside to Rabbi Romberg, when 411 Teen needed a spot to have its environmental program, Rabbi Romberg told her with no hesitation, well, you can have Temple Israel. And he opened up the entire temple to her and her program, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. But that's not why I came here to speak. I came here to speak about the fact that news in this town seems to be managed. Some things will be talked about, other things will be completely ignored. And I have in mind in particular the Tallahassee Democrat. Now, it's more than 2 weeks that have gone by in which the Tallahassee Democrat has received information, because I told them it's second consecutive derating in regard to patient safety. And Leapfrog says that a national rating organization, if a hospital has a D rating compared to an A rating, there's a 92% increase in the risk of death in that facility. And I'm just wondering if the tremendous advertising dollars that go into the Tallahassee Democrat have impacted on this. Another thing that has received very little scrutiny is the $271 million that Tallahassee Memorial squandered on that Mustin Center. It's not going to have any impact on health outcomes. Even people at the medical school won't come out and say that $271 million will affect health outcomes. We live in a town in which babies are now being born with syphilis. This ain't Nicaragua. Not that I have anything against the people of Nicaragua. But that's the reality. And where is Claudia Blackburn? The public health administrator, she should be here talking about this. Fogarty should be talking about this at the medical school. And nobody is even talking about it. Asthmatics, people die from asthma. They're filling up the emergency rooms in TMH. And blacks die disproportionately from asthma. It's a marker for the poor. Jimbo, you got a lot of poor people in your district. I live in your district. And the asthmatics are off the chart. You look at maternal mortality. It's not even being monitored. Healthy Start has something called a fetal and infant mortality review. And to Deloge's credit, I was surprised. He actually showed up in one of those reviews. He may have gone to a couple of them. Is that right, Brian? And he could hear the stories of all these women who are losing their babies. But the women who died in childbirth, you don't hear from them because they ain't around to say anything. You know what the data shows? The data shows that in Leon County, for every 100 white women who die in childbirth, I'm not talking about Madagascar. I'm talking about in Leon County. Hear me out. For every 100
Just
women.
a moment. Mr. Holyfield, I've been very generous with your time.
Well, can you just give me the other 3 minutes that I should have had before?
Well, a point of
On the consent
information.
item?
Go ahead,
A
Commissioner.
point of information, given that the chairman has been extended patience with Dr. Hollifield, but as he's going, Dr. Hollifield, I wanted to ask if you would be willing to perchance do a white paper citing some of the outstanding health issues which you have brought to us verbally, but to chronicle these noted areas of concern would be helpful to all of us. And if perchance you had recommendations as to how our body or collaboratively with other bodies we might address some of the issues, that would be helpful, at least to this commissioner, because we want to address maybe that which we can, and the others which we can't. It would just be circuit overload to hear, things that we can't do nothing about. But I would certainly, Mr. Chairman, just to say as one commissioner, would like to invite Dr. Hollifield to do some kind of white paper and
Thank you.
summarize what.
Thank you for the recommendation. We'll give you 30 seconds to close it out, Dr. Holyfield.
Okay, I'd just like to point out that you've had all kinds of workshops and stuff where people like Mimi Graham and other people get invited to talk. And I've never been invited. Never been invited at all. Y'all have very effective exclusion policies relative to people you don't want to hear from. And I'd also like to add that I ain't on nobody's payroll. And people who get paid to deal with these issues are not doing their job. Again, where is Claudia Blackburn? So, sure, I don't mind participating, but I think you should keep in mind that I first raised the issue of black infant mortality back in 2004, at a time at which I said black infant mortality in Leon County is 35% higher than the state average.
Thank you, Dr. Holyfield.
And everybody ignored it.
Thank you again.
Dr. Hollifield, I want you to, I hope that you would accede to the suggestion and recommendation to compile what you're sharing with us, and that we might be able to review it with an eye toward reconciling some of the disparities.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Any other listed speakers for non?
No, that concludes the speaker cards on
Okay.
this part of the
We'll move on to the general business at this time. Mr. Administrator, item number 9.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item number 9 is an agenda item that provides a status update regarding the county's implementation of the recommendations contained in the Hurricane Michael After Action Report It also provides an overview of our preparations for the upcoming 2019 hurricane season. Commissioners, as included in the analysis before you, I'm happy to report to you that all 68 actions from our Hurricane Michael after action report have been completed, and that's just since January. For those of you who are keeping count, that makes it 213 after actions that we've put in place in the 3 consecutive hurricanes of the last 3 years. Of course, we would all like a break for the upcoming hurricane season, but we are planning, we continue our planning and resiliency efforts for the next one. And so with that, I'd like to ask that Matt Cavell and Kevin Peters step up and provide an overview of our efforts to prepare our community for the upcoming hurricane season. With that, Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Chairman, Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm going to provide just a brief overview of the presentation before we begin, but let me just say that this is becoming a fairly familiar experience, but no less important for the implementation of our after-action reports. As the Administrator had said, that now total 213 recommendations, with this year's 68 added to that number. So first, I'm just going to give a very brief overview of that number and then dive in on a few of the highlights, leaving most of them on the table. You're welcome. They're all covered in your report. In addition, I'm going to cover the ongoing community and disaster resilience activities that we have ahead of us. And then lastly, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Peters to have a look towards the 2019 hurricane season and what that forecast may entail for us over the next few months. So to start, the after-action report serves as a way for our county to focus on recommendations that make us even stronger for the next disaster. Some of those most significant recommendations from the after-action report are things such as, to begin, the improvement of sheltering operations as they relate to special needs, so as to get people to sign up first and foremost and quickest for special needs even before a disaster is 5 days out. And then trying to anticipate an increase in capacity for our special needs sheltering, because, as we know, our community will only continue to grow, and as we bring in other folks with special medical needs into our community, that capacity will also continue to grow. In addition, one of the recommendations is to continue to coordinate better and improve coordination at the regional and local level for volunteers and donations. We took a very big bite out of that, not only with the February summit, where we were able to meet with communities affected out west, but also through Big Bend community organizations active in disaster, and also Kevin Peters' leadership role in the emergency management structure with neighboring counties. One of the last ones is also having maintained and coordinated here at the Leon County Emergency Management level more than 200 generators, state-owned generators, for the purposes of powering critical infrastructure. Primarily, critical infrastructure is defined as traffic light signals, which, as we know in our community, should be treated as four-way stops, but a handful of those times are not treated as four-way stops. By housing those generators here under the control of Leon County Emergency Management in partnership and coordination with the City of Tallahassee, we'll be able to get those resources out to where they're needed most and fastest. Now, one of the other bits that we need to cover is the after-action reports are a roadmap for us to be a leader in national disaster resilience. One of the best ways that you can see that exhibited is in April, when we were able at Leon County to present on 2 different forums for disaster resilience and community resilience at, again, the National Hurricane Conference. That was effective hurricane hazard communications, and it was additionally the importance of the designation as being the nation's first hurricane-strong community. Now, all of those designations and all of the opportunities that we have to improve also apply outside of hurricane season, and we saw no better example to that than our communities, and specifically our county's response to the Baum community tornadoes in early March. All of these after-action reports, these recommendations are not applicable only during the periods of hurricanes. They make us a stronger organization year-round. Now, biggest part of disaster resilience, however, in our community, and one thing that the after-actions have revealed, is citizen resilience is one of the most important things that we can support and prepare our community for. And we're very proud that our citizens took not only all the disasters seriously, but most especially Hurricane Michael, one of the most devastating and powerful storms to not only affect the state of Florida, but most specifically us here in Leon County. Now, how are we doing that and continuing to build resilience? Well, tomorrow is a good example, in that tomorrow we are hosting our citizen engagement series on disaster resilience. Have a plan before disaster strikes, because often it is too late to plan when you're in a 5-day error cone. In addition to that, on Saturday, we're having what I might argue would be the state's largest disaster preparedness event, but we'll just go with Region. Region's disaster preparedness event at Build Your Bucket, which begins at 9 a.m. and runs till noon, and that's on FAMU campus at the Lawson Center. That is our opportunity to engage nearly 2,000 citizens in learning about disaster preparedness and also giving them a chance to learn what those disaster supply bucket items are to help keep them safe in those immediate days after a disaster. Now, in addition to that, we'll be distributing our disaster survival guide again, and that is important because on June 2nd, Sunday, it goes into distribution, and because of need, it has 10,000 more printed copies that we'll be giving out for a total of 85,000 across our community at county facilities, city facilities, and in our local newspaper. And because we know that we need to approach resilience in new and interesting ways, you may have seen up on the slides here the library lecture series that we're having with Mary Alice Monroe. That's a partnership with Midtown Reader as well as our library system to bring in an author about disaster to give our wonderful Kevin Peters an opportunity to open that program and explain the importance of disaster preparedness and resilience. But again, we're looking at every opportunity to reach populations where they may be interested, where they may be listening, and where they pay attention. So out of all of those community resilience efforts and out of everything that we've learned for 213 recommendations, we are stronger now in advance of the 2019 hurricane season than we ever have been before. And I know that we said that in 2018, and I know that we said that also in 2017, but we've seen it exhibited with our county employees and our county family each and every time they've been asked to rise up and answer disaster. So with that, I would now like to turn it over to Kevin as he looks towards the 2019 hurricane season, which kind of ish already started. Kevin?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Administrator, good afternoon. As Matt said, we are approaching hurricane season, 4 days to go. And yes, we have had a preseason game, if you will, with subtropical storm Andrea, which formed back on May 20th. Was not a threat to the United States. It stayed offshore near Bermuda. But we are watching the hurricanes, and we are getting ready for another season. In April, Colorado State University, the leading seasonal hurricane forecast institution, issued their first outlook, calling for 13 named storms this year, 5 of which to become hurricanes, and of those 5, 2 to become major hurricanes, which would be a Category 3 or greater. On May 23rd, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the parent organization to the National Hurricane Center, issued the official federal government forecast for this hurricane season. They use ranges for the different categories, so named storms 9 to 15, hurricanes 4 to 8. Of those, 2 to 4 may become major hurricanes. With that being said, a normal hurricane season would be 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, 3 majors. So that puts us right about a normal hurricane season. I won't belabor the numbers, but this is all very similar to what last hurricane season looked like. The case being is we are still facing an El Nino. Last year when we gave this briefing, we were just seeing the beginnings of an El Nino, and it did help keep things near normal during the 2018 hurricane season. So we would expect to see something very similar this summer. That being said, an additional tidbit from the Colorado State forecast, they do probabilities for landfall based on 100-year averages for the Atlantic coast, the peninsula, and then the panhandle from Florida all the way around to Brownsville, Texas. In 2018, there was a 29% chance of that Gulf Coast area taking a direct hit. This year, at this point, Colorado State's calling for a 28% chance. Slightly less, but still very much the same. I think the lesson here is that regardless of what the seasonal outlooks are, we've never had a hurricane season with no storms. We do need to be prepared. I think 4 years ago, none of us would have expected 3 back-to-back years of hurricanes. So that just tells you that you can never be sure what to expect. But all the efforts that we're putting into it as Leon County government, we encourage our employees, our staff, as well as our citizens to be prepared for the unknown as we approach this hurricane season. With that, that pretty much concludes the hurricane outlook, and I think we're available for questions.
Thank you, Kevin. As a commissioner, I'd like you to know that I'm going to bring a proclamation forward to make 2019 a no hurricane year. So that will be coming up at one of our subsequent meetings. I do have several commissioners in queue to speak. Rick, Commissioner Minor. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're in queue.
Kevin, Matthew, just want to commend you and your team for everything you're doing. In my other job, my organization is a member of the Big Bend Community Organizations Active in Disasters. So we see firsthand the work that Leon County does, the work that Leon County staff does to prepare and then respond to hurricanes after they pass through our region. So I see it firsthand. And the citizen engagement that you all have done and continue to do and have planned is second to none. The citizen engagement event you've got tomorrow, the Build Your Bucket event on June 1st, just really well done. Regarding the generator component of this agenda item, one thing, again, from my other organization that we see the state doing is strategically pre-staging a lot of their resources in areas that are likely to be facing hurricanes with the upcoming season. And so we see that with the other organization in terms of trying to figure out where strategically we need to pre-stage food and emergency water with the expectation that a hurricane could come through that region through the season. And so with the 205 generators, I wholly support that. I think it's smart. I think it's smart for not just the state to work with local governments, but I think it's very smart for Leon County to have those generators ready and waiting should the need arise. So with that, I'd like to move option 1 and 2.
Motion has been made, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. Going first name today. Commissioner Kristen Dozier, please.
I'm good with that. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Chair. Echoing Commissioner Minor's comments, and yes, Second Harvest is fully engaged. Thank you, gentlemen, and everyone within the county family. I know this is a lot of training, a lot of preparation for all of our staff, Mr. County Administrator. I don't think it's lost on any of us. I hope it's not lost on the community that you all may be in the lead, but you've got a tremendous amount of support ongoing, but certainly when we're activated for an emergency from all of our departments. So thank you all. I really don't have questions about the action items necessarily for our purposes. We've been through this, as you said, 3 times in a row, and you've gotten extremely efficient at implementing all of the various action items. And I will say, as I say every year now for 3 years, the fact that we're willing to do the deep dive and get that list immediately after a storm and then implement it before the next season, this is this is a mark of an incredibly efficient but self-reflective organization and process, and I think that is really good. And that's probably an understatement to say it's just really good. It's great. But it gets me to the 2 questions that I do have, so this might be a little outside of hurricane season, or specifically coordinating with our region, whether it's east of us or west of us. We may only have a 28% chance in this region, Kevin, but are there increased vulnerabilities at this time because of our western neighbors still being dealing with the effects of Hurricane Michael and cleanup, fires combined with hurricanes, things like that? Are you seeing better coordination across the region? And I will also say with the state. We heard a lot of issues about coordination with the state in recent years. My sense in the last few months is that is getting a lot better. I'm seeing that through the regional response for Michael, but I'm just curious what you're seeing on regional and the state coordination going forward.
Right, yes. Definitely there are still vulnerabilities due to the impacts of the hurricane. All of the counties are working very closely with the various state agencies for the different aspects, whether it's the Florida Forest Service for Wild and Fire, the Florida Division of Emergency Management with emergency preparedness. They also are working very closely within their regions, partnering with the other counties through different processes, whether it's incident management team coordination to make sure that personnel can assist and backfill for those employees that may still be going through recovery themselves. That should the Panhandle get hit again, there are plans to have personnel from other unaffected counties in the peninsula, and vice versa if we are able, some of the further out counties in the Panhandle that weren't as affected, the first 3 counties, if you will, they do have staff that can also go into Peninsula or East Coast counties if need be. So there's a lot of coordination going on, yes.
Are you seeing increased coordination than what we've seen in past years? Has the transition to the new administration been, I mean, I assume it's been as smooth as it could be.
Definitely, the Deputy Director at State's Division of Emergency Management is a former county emergency management director from Pasco County, so he very much understands the needs and the challenges that others like myself engage in emergency management at the local level. So there's a better understanding from DEM at this time.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. And the other part of my question, Mr. Chair, I don't know if we need to dig into this as much right now, but I've been seeing some reports, I'm sure you all have been seeing, about people across the country starting, and even FEMA reps and others, starting to take a different approach to the annual 100-year flood, the annual largest storm we've ever seen, the annual largest fire we've ever seen. I mean, we're hitting these milestones year in, year out because of climate change and maybe other factors with not managing forests, things like that. I guess, Mr. County Administrator, I would just like to put it out there that right now we're focused on hurricane season. I think that's really critical, but if there is any movement in the emergency response to particularly natural disasters, statewide, locally, we are taking a lead on that in recent years, and I think we should continue to stay on the forefront of that, and I'm just wanting to make sure our neighbors and others are, that we're working with them in the same way, because we are responding to the storms as they happen, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to have to do this every single year in some fashion, and I think that's really dawning on all of us more and more, from the tornado to the fires and the hurricanes. So just wanted to put that out there, but thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you both very much.
And good point. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank staff for always doing a fantastic job in the aftermath of storms. There's one gap which we continue to have, which was amplified during the Michael event, and that is that we do not have a South Side facility that's open to accommodate persons whose homes may not be storm ready. The Rickards site for years, at least I won't say for years, but had been available 2 storms ago, I believe. When FEMA came down, they set up at the fairground, and they had to vacate, and they moved over to the Lawson Center at FAMU for major operation. There were deficit of facilities in the South Side, and I think that when you're talking about health, safety, the welfare of the people, that the absence of our having facility, which the public can go to, is really traumatic, in particular when the storm event is upon us. Our site was open on Jackson Bluff, which South Side, West Side, and one was open at Godby School, their gym. The Rickards gym was taken offline. It had been available the storm before. It had been manned and led by Gwen Graham 2 storms ago. The most recent, it was taken offline because, according to our superintendent, it was under construction, the Rickards site. I'm hopeful, Mr. Administrator, that our staff can reestablish Rickards now that it's no longer under reconstruction, that we can reestablish the Rickards gym as a site, because Florida High was for specialized needs of medical deficit, which people had, but had to be specialized. Claudia Blackburn was manning that site. There's just the need that we have to have. And I think that to connect the few dots here, that the absence of a public facility that can accommodate an area where many of the houses and homes are not up to other areas, that we really do need a public facility at that fairground, if for no other purpose than to be a backup site, emergency site for many of the people. But there are multiple reasons in addition to that, but that is just another reason why the fairground in new facilities to accommodate citizens during storm outbursts. And, I mean, Commissioner Dozier, you're right. Every night in the recent week or so, there is a new storm that is deadlier than, and we wake up tomorrow to another American city impacted by a storm. This is a new culture, a new norm line of storm events that are ravishing America, and very compelling thoughts. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for extending to me an opportunity to compliment staff, but to also suggest that Rickards Gym, hopefully we can secure it as a site for future accommodations for citizens of the South Side.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Motion has been made by Commissioner Minor and seconded by Commissioner Maddox for option 1 and option 2. Sorry, before we vote, we'll listen to Commissioner Deloge.
Just real quick, I think, Kevin, thanks for all the work that you've done. And there's certainly a human aspect to this that's going to reverberate through our part of the state generationally for some of the storms that have come through, but there's a financial impact that at the end of the day we all have to figure out how to deal with. And I know the last round, if I remember correctly, Mr. Administrator, we were $22 million down, give or take, in the debris removal and stuff. And it would be helpful between the 3 storms that I know one we're close to closing out, if we could at least on an ongoing basis get just kind of a financial update. And I know from what I understand from my briefing earlier that Hermine, we're close to getting that closed down, but the other 2 were still out financially. And I don't think, obviously we're not showing up at people's houses with chainsaws and doing some of the day-to-day work, but frankly, we're a steward for the people's money, and I think it's appropriate that people know what's going on. There's an outgo and an inflow, and at the end of the day, if we're not careful, we end up holding the short end of the stick. And I think our county has been pretty well represented about how that's worked out. Some counties with some less ability to manage really take it on the chin. It's tough if you don't have the administrative staff and support to manage that. So just if there's a way to just communicate that with us on a regular basis about how we are status-wise, that'd be helpful. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Minor, and then we'll vote on the option 1 and 2 as motion by you.
Commissioner Lowe's, thank you very much. It's a great idea. Would you be willing to accept an expansion, a slight expansion of that request to include, to the extent that we can easily, a survey of what other counties like ours around the state have done? I think it's a good data point for us to see where we are in terms of our funding, but to the extent that we can get that information readily for counties that are similar to us, I'd like to see where we stack up relative to them. I suspect we're doing quite well, but I'd like to see that comparison.
I can tell you just from having been associated with the FAC over the years and doing some work with FEMA now, there are some real horror stories out there of these either a small rural county that gets really hit hard, or in some cases some of the big urban counties that do just a poor job of managing it and get money clawed back. And so both cases really leave the county in a soft spot because, we're not in the insurance mitigation business here. And so, it's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, thanks.
So, Mr. Administrator, you're clear on like a status, I think we're calling it like a status report?
Sure. We have as you know, Commissioners, we've got our budget workshop coming up soon, and we can roll that into our overview item and make sure we do a status report and some comparative analysis. Happy to do so.
Great. Motion has been made for option 1 and 2 and seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by, Commissioner Dozier.
You can take the vote.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I was simply going to add part of my question about coordinating with the state. I'm hearing a lot of different things. I didn't want to speak out of turn, but it seems like the state has gotten much, starting to process funding reimbursements, going back to Hermine, and work through that backlog. I've been in a number of meetings with state representatives or representatives from emergency management in the state saying that they're starting to break up that log jam. It's going to take them a while. I see Kevin nodding in the back, so I think I'm on the right track. So if we were going to get a report, I would just say that there's part of it that's the impact and what the capacity of the county is, but then there's the real log jam seems like it's been on the state and for that. So just I'm hoping that that helps us recoup the funds more quickly and others around the state as well. And that may be helpful to know where everyone stands so we could advocate for all of us, all counties. Thank you.
Good point. Item number 10, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item provides the board with an overview of the county's naming policy for buildings, facilities, and other properties, and provides the board with additional guidance in naming considerations to be included in the county policy, should you deem these revisions acceptable. This item, Commissioners, comes at your request of our meeting back in April. The proposed revisions are summarized on pages 3 and 4 of the item. In summary, the guidelines proposed through these revisions underscore the significance and permanence of naming decisions and offer criteria the board may wish to consider to help guide these important decisions. We're very happy to answer any questions you might have on this or to receive any additional direction the board might have. We have no speakers on this item, and we're recommending option 1.
Right. Move option 1 by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. A couple of commissioners in queue to speak. Commissioner Deloge, you'll go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I asked for this. I think one of our jobs is hopefully to leave the county a little bit better, or the commission a little bit better than we found it. And one of the things I think is these things come up like this. There have been nationally, you see a lot of statues being taken down, names being done, things that later on people think, well, that was done in the heat of the moment. Maybe we should have thought through this. At least it gives us a framework. Nothing's cast in stone, but it gives us some kind of guidepost to operate by. So I appreciate the staff putting this together and giving us a starting point. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Deloge. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought about not bringing this one up because it may sound a bit odd to my colleagues, so I'll just put that out there first. I concur with all your comments, Commissioner Deloge. I fully support the item. I have the strong sense that even though we don't have term limits in our county, they are in some other counties, times are shifting. And I'm due respect to those who have been here multiple terms, many, many terms. The 5-year term in office, I don't want us to look like we are promoting a quarter century on this board. I think it is great for some people to serve a quarter century, and I think it's great for some of us to go on and do other things. And so I just wanted to bring that up because for some reason it has really stuck with me since I read this item, the 5 terms. And it does say 5 terms or other significance. So I am content with just leaving the comment in the record and not changing anything. But I do think that is of significance. It may have been historically true that people, and I don't know this from looking at the board outside or anything, but that people may have served more terms. But I do think that we are seeing a trend across the state of people serving 3 or 4 terms, something like that. And I just wanted to note that we're not encouraging people to stay forever, stay for your service and then go on. And I'm looking at 7 people who are all at different points, and I celebrate how long all of us have been on here and however long you choose to want to do it, and the voters choose to keep us here. But I think that we do need to recognize that things shift, and I didn't want that implication to be there. So.
Yeah, important comments, no doubt.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lindley.
Just going to nominate you for a building of some sort, but not now.
I should have said that. I wasn't angling for anything.
I thought, okay. I actually didn't read it that way at all, but even though I appreciate having this framework, I think a lot of these ideas are good for us to discuss. I feel sure that we could always change things a little bit. If someone did, we talked about this earlier, did something particularly profound in their 18th year, short of the 20 or any other time. But I think I appreciate having at least some solid guidelines for us to consider and bounce off of. So I appreciate your comments too, but I'm glad to have this on the record for us for later. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you again for the guidelines. Option 1 has been made, or motion's been made and seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously. Mr. Administrator, item number 11.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As requested by the Housing Finance Authority and pursuant to county and federal requirements, this item seeks the board's approval for the HFA of Leon County to issue $13 million in bond financing for the acquisition and rehabilitation of Magnolia Terrace Apartments, a 108-unit affordable housing complex. The issuance of the bonds for this acquisition and rehabilitation has no liability or obligation on the county or the HFA. In addition, it would not impact the county's bond rating. However, Commissioners, it would allow the developer to access favorable bond financing and federal low-income tax credits to increase the availability of affordable housing in Leon County. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending option 1.
Commissioner Maddox was on deck and his feet were in the batter's box.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You guys can imagine how excited I am about this. This is something that I saw happening all across the Southeast during my housing trips a few years ago, and to see it happen here for the first time is pretty exciting. $13 million on a $13 million bond on a $20 million renovation of a property that's in desperate need of renovation, that's going to continue and remain to be affordable housing. As a matter of fact, Section 8 housing is absolutely amazing. It gives those people an opportunity to get a facelift on the places that they call home, and I'm so excited about it. I actually was asked the county administrator how did this property go about qualifying for tax credits before Orange Avenue did, and he informed me that it was a different program. And so I would advise that if we can get Orange Avenue into that different program as well, that we attempt to do that, because this is pretty awesome. They can do it this quickly. To the developers out in Santa Monica, California, thank you for taking interest in Leon County and coming to improve a property that's going to change lives for the people who live in those properties. Again, must stay Section 8 housing for 30 years. It's pretty awesome. That means that the people, the demographics or the financial part of who lives there will remain the same. The only regret that I have is that they couldn't build more housing on that piece of property, so you can allow maybe some market mixed income that in that development that would allow for a different look there. Also, I was wondering there on the tenant relocation plan. So I know as they tear down and begin to redevelop some pieces of it, is there a plan there to move those tenants who are being displaced in other parts of the facility? Because I saw it was 99% occupied, or will they be given vouchers to move into other communities?
Shankton Lammy is on the spot. Thank you, Shankton.
No problem, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, there is no plan to actually demolish any parts of the structure, because what will occur is that as residents vacate the units, that's when renovations will actually occur. So when a tenant's lease is up and they choose to move, then in that opportunity, they will then make renovations, and then they would actually move tenants that are already living there into the new renovated units, and then renovate that one and just follow that process of making renovations to the units.
Yeah. If there's any way, I'd love to see maybe some pictures or a report of what the renovations will look like once they're completed. Again, this is also for the folks who live there. Thank you for giving me that piece of information, because it means that people who live there now will be able to continue to live there as long as they want to, and then when they move out, then the renovation process will start. So I'm pretty excited about that too. So again, with that being said, this is something that I'd like to see us do all across our communities, within those communities that need to be renovated, like our housing authority properties, and this is something that we need to put priority on, because if you've been to Joe Louis, when you've been to Orange Avenue, you've walked into those houses, those folks live in those houses with pride, and they should live in those houses with pride, but at the same time, those dwellings that they live in are not up to par for what they should be, given the fact they were built 50 and 60 years ago. And so I I ask this board, as well as our community, to put a priority on trying to make sure that that housing is renovated so people can live in places that will look like what Magnolia Trace will look like after renovations are done. With that, I move option 1.
We already had a motion, did we? No? Okay. Well, even if we did, motion's been made by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Lindley. Have a couple of commissioners in queue to speak. Commissioner Proctor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted that there's some conversation on affordable housing occurring here at this dais. Affordable housing should not be one where there's intense congregant group housing, but we need affordable housing also moving forward as a single home and not a multi home unit. And I think that, commissioners, we need to pick up the pace on that conversation. That's something that we were having that topic some time ago, and I think the last time it came up in a way that it stuck a little bit when we talked about inclusionary housing. And then affordable housing was the backdrop to inclusionary, but the focal point was inclusionary housing, and somehow the subsidiary conversation was affordable housing. I like to see the city and the county commissions come together. I would like to recommend to you, Mr. Chairman, that you and our mayor would come together, that you all could lead us to greener pastures, if you will. I'm thinking Psalm 23, that we could absolutely find a peace where people are not fleeing. There are certain price points in which here in Tallahassee, people just can't. They can't. And when you're looking at the this morning on CNN's report of what an average house costs in America, slightly over $300,000. That's the American house. And it was pointed out that there's not a whole lot of square footage that comes with that either. Here in Tallahassee, you saw the parade of homes. Those were not extraordinary homes, but their prices were beyond the reach. The parade has no homes of an affordable quality. I don't know if you all looked in the parade of homes. They wasn't parading for everybody. If you're going to have a parade ought to be something that everybody ought to be able to participate in. Everybody ought to be able to go to a parade. But that parade that we had for those houses, everybody can't get them. They wasn't parading for everybody. But we need a stock and to force this. And as land is shifting, the resources of the cities and the county, we're holding. I have said to this board numerous times, Mr. Kenny Barber, that I'm not ashamed. It doesn't inflame. It doesn't create shame that if we want to put affordable housing and keep it over in the South Side, we're fine with that. We ain't Summerbrook. We ain't trying to be Golden Eagle. We who we are. We need some more housing stock and effort. Washington, I'm glad about this project and somebody from California. I mean, and that's amazing that somebody from Santa Monica, California. I mean, you would have thought somebody from Thomasville, Dothan. I mean, somebody closer would have saw us and come up with some money to do something. But it took somebody from California to go over there in the South Side and look at a piece of property and say, let's do something. I wish somebody here local could see. Maybe we're in the woods and can't see the forest or something. But I'm glad somebody, this side of Russia, looked beyond our fault, saw our need, come to our housing finance authority, ours. I mean, they come into, this ain't California's money. Somebody from California done come from California and coming to get our bond money. Y'all understand what this is? That's amazing. And this should not occur because there ought be investors, developers of a similar ilk here in North Florida that could do this. And I am a little wayward of thought to say something is wrong when somebody got to come way out there and take advantage of the bond structure that ought to benefit and ought to be taken advantage of by somebody local. Something is wrong with this. But I ain't going to oppose it because I'd rather somebody from California come along and if we can't find nobody local, so we go who we can get. Man, why don't you open up a satellite office out there in California, Shinkton, and bring some more folk from California down here to work on the south side. But we would like to encourage the mayor and the chair to take, unless this commission is opposed to houses being affordable. You saw what was in the paper. The parade of homes ain't affordable, and we need to have houses because we have built Wakulla County, we built, people have fled Tallahassee, we've built Gaston County, we've built, you ought to go out there and see what we've done. Our prices have done, and we need that same stock here in our community. That's how we keep ourselves strong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciated your comments, Commissioner Proctor. Although I saw that the Santa Monica group, I assume it's a specialized kind of organization that's putting $20 million up front themselves to start with this. Two things. I saw that the project seems to say that they're going to invest an average of $45,000 per unit, and yet part of the agreement is that the tenants won't experience an increase in rent after the rehabilitation. Is that something that's locked into our contracts with them, or is that just a goodwill gesture? Or do you have any idea if we can really rely on that?
The intent, Commissioner, is that the increase, there will be an increase, but it won't be on the tenant, it will be with HUD pays. So there is a certain amount that HUD pays for the units because for the Section 8 vouchers. And what happens is that as long as whatever the amount is, it can never be more than 30% of what the tenant's or the household income is. And the difference is what HUD pays. The intent is that the developers, what they hope is that with the renovations, HUD will allow for an increase in what they pay. And so that is where they'll be able to see the increase of funding that comes into the project for the developer.
Right, so the tenants who have lived there for many, many years will have an improved facility or home.
Right, without seeing their rent go up.
And then also under this contract, is there any requirement, as we do in our local contracts, for a minority and small business inclusiveness in the rehabilitation projects, hiring local workers, or is there any discussion of that?
That is something that's actually come up during HFA meetings specifically, and I've been in conversations with CareerSource specifically of that, about seeing how we can do a partnership because CareerSource has those dollars also that can be utilized for that type of skill sets that can be helping in these renovations. And so those are part of some of the conversations, some of the requirements, and as part of negotiations, the HFA will potentially require as part of issuing the bonds for this project.
And then, thank you. And then finally, when is this supposed to start? When can we expect to see some changes? I mean, you were saying that they'll start as if somebody moves out, then they'll start on that apartment. But is there any?
Well, we're right in the beginning right now, so with the board's authorization this evening, what will happen from there is that the board, well, I'll just say we're looking at like end of this year, end of December 2019, January 2020 of when they actually get started, because this is really the beginning of the process because, again, there's still a lot of credit underwriting that has to go through to ensure that this project is feasible, not just at our level, also the state will do the same thing because they are looking for tax credit dollars, as well as the feds because of the fact that they are looking for HUD to increase those rents. They're going to have to ensure that this project is sound and actually can be successful.
Right, right. Thank you. Thanks.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really excited about this project, and to kind of bridge some of the questions and comments Commissioner Proctor you made, I think we're going to hear a lot in coming months, years about new work on behalf of the HFA, our department, thank you, Shington, and other partners in the community. I do think we have done a lot to jumpstart this conversation in recent years. I think it was fall of 14 or 15 that we had the idea to host the joint workshop with the city, and I do think we've taken some steps. I guess in addition to that, when we see land use questions or urban infill questions, oftentimes those things have been set up years before we see an actual project. That we had a series of public hearings last spring, and a lot of these different questions involve more affordable housing than what a surrounding neighborhood might have. Mr. County Administrator, when we look towards, and I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but look towards our workshop with the city on comp plan land use component for October, it seems like kind of highlighting how the comp plan works with and could support different types of housing through the community might be one of those exercises that would be beneficial for us, just to really think about how the rules connect with actual projects. I'm going to say I welcome investment in the community from anywhere. I love it from locals, but hey, if someone from outside wants to come and invest, that is fantastic. And this is a balance in our land use component with preserving the quality of life and the environment, but we all do focus on housing. So, Ms. County Administrator, I see you making some notes over there. Do you think that is something that we could dig into as an example and a topic that we know us and our city colleagues are very interested in?
Yes, we will make sure to include that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Proctor, and then we'll go to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would be remiss if I did not say that at the last two summit hearings on 3.2 summit sessions on 32304, that housing has emerged as one of the points of need. And while I did not sit with that particular group on housing, at the end of the 11 or 12 different groups on different topics that we've had, the point of housing and the points that they line up, one of our speakers said that when you're homeless, it's like you just can't get traction in life. You don't have an address. We're talking about beginning at that point of need. And in 32304, which still belongs in Leon County, the focal point of taking a lot of the older homes, the abandoned homes, and our creating initiatives that will help to restore, rehab, tear down and build anew, and to transfer ownership, that American value thing, that pride thing, invest in people, that sense of whatever it is that you feel when you own your home. I mean, all of our homes are temporary. Hopefully we have some other homes to go to, but in the by and by, but we have an opportunity, and 32304 is an area that we absolutely could target, and for matching dollars. And I think that to leverage the 32304 and to note it's impoverished, being our state's most impoverished, it's three streets over from the back of the governor's house on Duval Street, where it begins on Old Bainbridge Road, and that the governor of Florida lives right there on the precipice of the most impoverished zip code in Florida. That ought to receive a designation from our legislative folk to receive the kind of money to transform that area. So I think that when we talk about human services, though human services is often what it is, but housing is an element of that. Though we treat housing independent of the typical human services, but I want to applaud Brother Shinkton for his efforts to be steadfast and abounding with concern and interest and compassion. And Commissioner Dozier, this is an area that, Commissioners, there are areas which compassion is the key, and not dollars and cents and qualifying and what's your FICO score and is you got 20% down payment. Some of these issues require of us compassion, and I'm just suggesting that to me, that when it comes to the affordable housing, we look at the typical stuff, but when it comes to affordable housing, it's going to require that the lenses of our eyeballs convert and become filled with the fluid of compassion that we might see. See as God would see. When I was homeless, did you see me? When I ain't had a house, what did you do? When I needed a roof over my head, were you there? When I had no place else to go, where was the county commissioner? These are the concerns in which I feel within our heart, this issue, if we plant these seeds, it has to grow out of our hearts. Because if we continue to look at the same old thing, do you have a 20% down payment? Well, do you have a 500 score? Well, let me see your credit history. You do that, we're wiping people off. They're never going to get up. We as a county perhaps have got to create our own bond issue. And that's why I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, that you and the mayor and with Shinkton and their staff, we could be doing this particular bond, Leon County, not somebody from Santa Monica per se. That man, this is a $13 million bond on one building. We could take $13 million and help a whole heap of folk buy an individual house on $13 million. But we done help one person from Santa Monica come down here and get a guaranteed check off the people who are poor. And all they got to do is spend 30% of their income, and the government is going to pay him the rest of the difference. So even if they don't pay their $3 on 10, government going to give him $70. He can't lose. If we did the same thing, we can't lose. There's nothing that prohibits us from modeling after what these people done from California to benefit off our community. We can't let people come in here and just thrive. And of course, the people who benefit, receive the benefit, they thrive. This right here is something that we can do. Creative, courageous, bold, visionary. The words that county commissioners are made of. That's the stuff this is the opportunity that we make those kinds of words real with the titles that we hold. So, Mr. Chairman, I just reiterate again, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. This time we'll vote on option one. Motion made by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Lindley. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item seeks the board to award a bid for the renovation of public restrooms in the Leon County Courthouse. This item has been budgeted. The project, Commissioners, for background, was competitively bid. The recommendation of award is to the low bidder, Oliver Sperry Renovation and Construction. None of the bidders on this procurement met the MWBE aspirational targets for the job. However, the low bidder did demonstrate a good faith effort as determined by our MWBE offices and intends to use minority subcontractors on this job as indicated in this item. We're recommending option one, and we have no speakers on this item.
Move option one, Mr. Chairman.
Option one has been moved, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item seeks the full board's consideration of appointments of citizens to the Advisory Committee on Quality Growth, as reflected in options 1, 2, and 3.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would love to hear any other suggestions for option 3. I know a lot of the names on that list. I wanted to speak to option 2, which, forgive me, there's a lot more seats in these different options, Mr. Chair. I was looking at the archaeological representative. We did an item recently on archaeology and decided to add a member from the industry to the Quality Growth Committee. So that is option 2C, and I'd like to nominate Julie Duggins for that seat. I could take up A or B if you'd like, but I could leave the motion at option 2C and option 1 for all the reappointments, and then hear from anyone else if they have other names.
All right.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, so the motion's been made for option 1, A through E, and 2C. All those in favor signify by saying
Mr.
aye.
Chairman, I'm a little not clear where we are. Which one are we on?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
option 1 is just the reappointments for those members who have been serving, and
That's
really,
that's the Advisory Committee on Quality Growth? Is that
Yes,
the one we're talking about? Okay.
and then option 2C, there's a number of seats here, is just the archaeologist. And that was something that we had been working on for a while, and I've come to respect Ms. Julie Duggins and would like to, and I think Barbara Clark would be great as well, but Julie's been working with us a lot. I just was open to seeing if anyone else, I didn't want to take the floor for all of the seats.
You're joking. I know you're joking on that, but anyway, I thought that on option 1, missing, unless I've missed it, the Capital City Chamber is not here. The NEBA, Network of Entrepreneurs and Business Advocates, have an applicant that they've nominated. The Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce has a nominee. The Associated Builders, Council of Neighborhoods, Big Ben. And now we're going to talk about a committee that's dealing with quality growth. I think that the Capital City Chamber, are there reasons which have prohibited this chamber from having a voice here? I mean, I'd like to hear the thinking on why or what has negated their voice.
Mr. Administrator.
Commissioners, I'm looking to staff to give me an indication of whether they do have representation or not excuse me. Okay, so before you are 5 seats that are currently, we're seeking the appointment for expiring terms on 3-year terms. Mr. Rosenzweig is checking on whether they do not have an appointment on the committee or whether it's just currently filled and does not require a reappointment at
The
this time.
Advisory Committee on Quality Growth does have a...
They do have an appointment on the committee.
All right, who's that appointee? I'm looking for this information. I want to be comfortable before I vote for all these.
Well, whoever it is, we're not seeking reappointment on them. They're currently seeking in their capacity as appointed by this commission previously.
Okay, but they actually have a person
They do.
serving nominee. Okay,
They're currently
very
serving.
good. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so can I revert to the
Yes.
motion as it was made?
And, Mr. Chair, I will say there are a number of appointments that are members of the committee that are not up for reappointments, right? Option 2A only has one name, Mr. Michael Dobson, and I could add that into the motion. And then if you would like to leave the motion open, we have the same list of names for option 2B and option 3. So I would be happy to amend the motion, and then we can just take one vote, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
how about we leave the motion
Yes.
open for the sake of work, and let's get an option for 2B.
Let me,
Could I? May I?
Sure.
I was hoping to nominate Joe Laurie Penrose for seat number 10.
And that's for 2B.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about option 3?
And option 3, what are we looking at for that?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if no one has any other suggestions, Rochelle McClure, I would add her to the list, although we do have a lot of good names there.
Okay.
But if there are other suggestions,
Right. That option, or excuse me, that motion has been made to accept option 1, A through E, option 2, A, C, and B as Joe Laurie Penrose, and option 3 as Rochelle McClure.
and Julie Duggins for option 2C. Yes, sir.
Yes, Julie Duggins, sorry, for C.
Do we cover everything, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
That would be the motion.
Everybody understand the motion as it is on the floor?
Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Administrator.
I believe the county attorney is up on this one.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this item is to discuss a subject that I didn't think was going to come up anytime, which was a successor plan for replacing me. All good things have to come to an end at some juncture, and next March is my mandatory retirement date because of the drop program that I'm in the Florida retirement system. And so you have me for the next 10 months and 2 days. And whenever else you need me thereafter, but that's when I am going to have to retire. So with 10 months left, it was time to bring onto your agenda at least a request that you give some guidance on a succession plan. I have laid out in the agenda item, which, by the way, was really weird to write. Like Gerald Ensley, I was writing my own a bit. So it was a little weird. But anyhow, there are tons of options, but the only real viable options are the 4 that are set forth in the agenda item. One of which is to promote from within. That's the first option, and that would be to promote LaShawn Riggins from the deputy position to the county attorney position effective, I hate to say this, April Fool's Day in 2020. A second option is to do your own advertising and recruiting, and that would involve having staff, and when I say staff, Vince and I put together a series of ads that would seek applications from anybody who was interested, and then we would probably bring you an agenda item. If you want to establish a committee, that would be, we would bring back another agenda item, or you could delegate the authority to sort through those to staff and the county attorney. Option 3 is to hire an executive search firm. There's an executive search firm here in town that is used a lot here in Florida for managers and attorneys. And we have, in fact, used this same firm a couple of times recently, including for the chief building official, with success. That would cost you, I haven't gotten a quote, but they tend to run about $25,000. They would create the job description, they would create a brochure, they have a strong mailing list, and they would then bring you back how many shortlisted folks that you would want, whether you want 2 or you want 5. The norm has generally been 3 to 5. The fourth option is, like the Florida Association of County Managers has this recruitment service,
So does the Florida Association of County Attorneys. So both Vince and I have been familiar with that. The county attorneys have done 2, to my knowledge, since we created this thing. You would pay the association $5,000. That's it, and then they would do the write-up. They would do the ads. They would do a review of the applications. They would do the interviews of the finalists and then present that to the county commission in a time frame that you would negotiate. Obviously, you'd want to have that done sooner than later. In all instances in which there are folks, if you're not going to promote from within, then I would suggest that you have somebody start as the, if you would, interim county attorney before I leave, so that there would be some, whether it's 30 days or 60 days, some sort of overlap. And I've seen a lot of local governments have been doing that lately, just so that there is no break in the action, if you would. So those are your 4 options. I'm prepared to give you details about any more of those, but at some juncture, we're going to have to pick one. So I'm open to questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. If it's the will of the board, I'd like to hear, we do have 3 speakers to speak. I'd like to hear those 3 speakers prior to commission comments or input. Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first speaker is Diane Williams-Cox.
Good evening, Ms. Williams-Cox. And as a point of reminder, we'll need you to give your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. Diane Williams-Cox, 2312 Mavis Circle, Tallahassee, Florida, 32301. I come to you today to ask your support of option 1. We have known since March 20th, 2015 that this day was coming. If we were going to have a process, we should have had a process already in place, ready to go, so that we wouldn't have to now develop a process. Past precedents has been that we haven't followed an exact process for making these types of appointments. Coming from across the street in my other life, we saw what happened in our community when we had people choosing winners and losers and finally going to a national search and then not accepting what the national search brought back. I am hoping that in this community, we will save those $25,000 and use it for affordable housing or some other need, hiring some youth during the summertime, and that we select, that you select the deputy. Hiring from within has been a common practice because it shortens the learning curve. And being a capital city, a capital county, we need somebody who will be ready to hit the ground running. And I believe that the deputy, if she has served well as your deputy, surely she should have the opportunity to serve well as your county attorney. And when I look at the dais, she's needed on the dais because we need to reflect our community. When we look at our county government, all levels of it, elected and appointed, it needs to reflect our community. And I'm sad to say that there has not been a black female on the dais since Anita Davis was the commissioner. It's time that we do something big, bold, visionary, as I heard earlier, and do the right thing for our community. Save taxpayer dollars, use the person who has been in training, in waiting, or however you all call it, and move option 1. I hope that I will be able to say that our county and our city are on the right track to being progressive and not traditional. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Next up.
The next speaker, Matthew Williams.
Mr. Williams.
Mutaki Akbar. Okay, that concludes our speakers.
They wrote on there that they are in support of option 1.
Waive in support of option 1. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Herb. Okay. Let the record reflect that Matthew Williams and Mutaki Akbar both commented a wave in support of option 1. Thank you. That concludes our speakers.
Commissioner Lindley, you are in queue.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first, I just feel I have to say to Herb, we're going to miss you terribly. You have brought a lot of stature, intelligence. You've been such a great help to our board all through the 6 years I've been here, almost 7. I think, I can't remember a time when we caught you off guard where you either had the precise answer we needed or you're really, really good at bluffing it, and we believed you. So you're going to be very hard to replace. And I know all of us here have lots of accolades, and we can probably save them for your going away party or a later date. But at this time, respectfully to our deputy county attorney at this point, I feel like for transparency and just for professionalism, we need to solicit outside applications. We need to have some way of measuring what we as a board feel we want and need going forward. And there's so many aspects of what you have done in your basically law firm, our county law firm, over the years. I think there's just a lot for us to consider. What kind of an attorney we really use or need most. There are trial attorneys, there are prosecutors, there are real estate attorneys, there are family practice attorneys, there are administrative law, there are corporate attorneys, all bring different things to this board or to the practice of law. And I think it would be really good for us to talk about what we need, what we see going forward. And I just personally would very much want to have a selection of going through an outside application selection and narrowing it down to 3 to 5 possible candidates for us to discuss. We've relied on Herb's office for, has it been 18 years now, I think? Or longer than that? How many years? 29. Where did I get 18? Anyway, many, many years. And so for me, it's just important for us to open this up in a professional way, in a modern way, and look through as many candidates as are brought forward to us who seem to meet the requirements that we need in this job. So that's my motion. It would be for option 2.
I'd second that for discussion.
Motion's been made for option 2, or excuse me, motion's been made for option 2. It's been seconded for discussion. Commissioner Deloge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me echo some of the comments Commissioner Lindley made. Herb, I think most of the people in this audience, or most people up here, have become very spoiled by your leadership. It's you're not the norm for county attorneys around the state as far as longevity. I think you have outlasted the majority of them. It's a tough job working for a bunch of elected officials who sometimes are all over the place, but you do it masterfully. You keep us out of trouble, and frankly, I value your opinion. You're a great asset to us, so it's going to be a tough change. Having said that, this, in my opinion, is going to be one of the biggest decisions we have a hand on in the next couple of years, maybe the next 5 years, because let's face it, the direction from a legal standpoint that we take as an organization, we rely pretty heavily on her. And I think it's something we need to take a long, hard, methodical look at and make sure that we're getting the best possible candidate that we can. And I think it's the kind of thing we want to take a diligent, disciplined approach to and look at all the opportunities and all the avenues we could go down. This is a big decision for us, and I don't take it lightly, and I don't think that it's something that we're just going to jump in and say, let's just move forward. And it may, in fairness, come back where we do hire an internal candidate. That may be at the end of the day. And frankly, I would love nothing more than to be criticized for somebody saying you spent money on a national search and you ended up. That's what we did, and I won't be ashamed of that. I think it'd be money well spent if that's the path we take. But I think at a minimum, there's a lot of counties in this state. I can tell you from experience that the attorneys and the administrators probably are not feeling the love we have. We have a good group here. We work pretty well together. In my experience, I think this will be a good county to work with. So I think we spread the word, and I think the option 2 gives you some of that latitude to start down that path. So thank you.
Commissioner Dozier, to be followed by Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a difficult item, difficult position. Appreciate the comments, Commissioner Williams-Cox, and you and I spoke several days ago about this, and I appreciated our conversation. I'm going to say for my part, because of a really challenging position I was placed in my first year in office, and I shared this with the county administrator and forewarned him that I would bring this up today with love, that we really should have talked about a policy before getting to today. Because at that time in 2011, when our esteemed county, or attorney, or not attorney, excuse me, I was just going to give you that job, Mr. County Administrator, when it was suggested that we hire you direct as an internal candidate, I remember my comments at that commission meeting very clearly because I struggled with it. You all, it's no, surprise to anyone that I like a good process, right? I'm always talking about that. We all are. But I said that day that I was voting in support of the candidate of hiring Vince Long as our county administrator, but not in support of the process. And I really struggled with that. As a newbie, I wasn't going to lose a 6-1 vote for someone that I did value as our county administrator. But I do think it is completely different for an elected body to do hiring. And with an elected body, having a public process, even when we have such a fantastic internal candidate like our Deputy County Attorney, LaShawn Riggins. Thank you for your service to our country, to the county. It has been fantastic. And this is a real struggle, and I believe personally it's a disservice to you that we did not bring this up before, because this is the product of sunshine. We have to sit here and have a conversation when your name is in option 1. And I don't think that's a position that we should put you in, nor should the board be in, because to go to a public search may be read that we don't support our internal candidate now or in the future. And that is a difficult position to be in. If we praise our internal candidate too much, we might not get other applicants. It might not be a real search. Certainly that concern has been shared in other bodies at different times. So I want to say publicly that I wish we had done a policy before now, before getting to an item where there is our Deputy County Attorney's name in this item. So I would hopefully offer a friendly amendment to the motion that we also develop a policy. For any direct hires by the Board of County Commissioners, we do a public search. Regardless of the strength of our internal candidates, we can always waive the policy if we have to in the future in extreme circumstances, but I would like to see a draft policy come back, and I can make that a separate item if you'd like, Commissioner Lindley.
I think the idea is good. I'm interested in the time frame, and I think we do have to incorporate Herb's suggestion, if we go down this avenue, that we may have to have an interim county attorney for a while. So I'm not sure if I'm hearing you suggest a policy discussion.
It's completely separate, Commissioner Lindley. Your motion, yours is option 2? Is that right? Okay. Option 2 would stand. In addition to that, at whatever time, because it wouldn't have bearing on this particular hiring. Should your motion pass, that would govern this, but for any future hires. We just develop a policy in the next year for future hires so that we don't leave anyone in this position again. That would be my suggestion.
And I would accept that. I actually think the discussions we will have will help us shape a policy as well. I mean, that is really one reason I'm strongly, in favor of having outside applications, because I want us to talk about what we need, what we want, what we have, what we may need or feel we do going forward, and the kind of attorney that we would be looking for. And it may be right here at home. We've already got that figured out, but I don't know that yet. I know Tallahassee's often been accused of having more lawyers per square inch than any city in the southeast, and I think that we will have a lot of applicants who will bring forward thoughts and ideas, points of view that we may not have thought about. And so I think discussing this in context of a policy is a great idea.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I had one final comment. Thank you, Commissioner Lindley. This may be a bit of the elephant in the room, but I do want to address this point because Commissioner Williams-Cox and I dug into this a good bit, and I really, like I said before, appreciate the conversation. We have seen some messiness, might be the most generous word here, when it comes to hiring in our community. As a City of Tallahassee resident, I was not thrilled with what has happened in recent years. And we both talked about the need for both of our governments to look at the policy. And I shared with you that the same comments that I've shared today. But the elephant in this room is so often we talk about policies when we hit the point that a woman or a minority comes up for the job. And that is a real struggle. It is. I think that should be acknowledged. And that there has been actually, I'm going to twist something you said and take it a little differently, Commissioner Williams-Cox, and I'll close with this, Mr. Chair, that progressive versus traditional, I'm going to say the traditional leans more to hiring who we know, and it has a typical type of candidate in a lot of, not just government, but in a lot of ways. I think the progressive nature is to look at a fair practice, and I'm sorry it's coming to us today. This is only the second time in my more than 8 years that face this question, but I do hope this helps us increase diversity of thought, of all types of diversity going forward. I know we may disagree with this, my friend, but I think the policy is critical for us, and I hope for the city and for others as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Chairman. I am guilty of, in this courthouse building, of raising the issue of diversity for this county government across the waterfront of all positions. We've not seen much movement in the attorney's position because we've had such a stalwart in her for 3 decades. But the example which I'm thinking of right now is when Mr. English retired at the city. The city, I believe they moved 2 white men successively to follow Mr. English, followed by another one who was in waiting. Then when it came to Attorney Cassandra Jackson's time, then it was the same conversation that I'm hearing here. Our county administrator, who I've observed and who was nurtured, cultivated by Parwez Alarm, and we did not do a search for Vince Long. I think that we knocked the ball out of the park. I think that we've never been disappointed in not doing that. And maybe premature to your being here, perhaps, it was anticipated and somehow a known that our eyes were on Vince. And it was a very easy process. And so we have had movement at the city in the attorney's role, and it was I forget the words you used, messier. It was a word like that. And that only occurred when a black woman came up. It got messy only when a sister was up. It was never messy before. It was seamless. Would you disagree? It was seamless. And it was seamless for Vince Long. And Herb, how many black county attorneys are there among the 67 counties in Florida? I know Renee was one.
Yeah, but she isn't. I think the answer to your question is 0 at the present time.
Okay. And I know.
Orange County.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're batting per usual for Florida. And I think that the state's attorney in Orange County announced today that she ain't running no more there. But Nick, this is the kind of Florida Association of Counties that you are going to become the president of in a couple of weeks. Certain positions just ain't represented. You'll be our president, but don't look for nobody in certain roles. How many blacks do we have as county administrators among 67 counties, Vince?
We have several, I would say probably
No, Quincy.
less
I
than
think we're
5.
good. I think we're good in Quincy. We don't.
Palm Beach and Broward are two biggies.
Okay. So again, we're not like, it's not big enough to have a association of black county administrators or nothing like that. We have an opportunity today to make this a seamless step for our next our deputy county attorney. And one of the reasons that I'm comfortable in option one is because of the line of questions that I had to ask Herb Tila when we briefed me on this item, its meaning. And my question, which typically we don't divulge what we talk about with the county administrator, county attorney in briefings, but we're in the sunshine, and whatever I told her behind a closed door, I'll say it in front of anybody. So conversations that I hold with people generally, I don't care who hear it per se. But I asked Herb what was his reservations, and did he have reservations in LaShawn for all the dynamics which are not only legal, and the legal part of it. You know, nobody questioned Jackie Robinson's ability to play baseball. His fieldmanship, his batting, ability to steal bases, to catch a ball. The issue of Jackie Robinson was not about his baseball ballsmanship. It was about, could he handle the jeers? Could he handle the spectators? Could he handle his teammates' opposition? How strong mentally could he be in not staying with his team and not eating with his team before and after games? Could he handle that he had to live with some family when his team was on the road and not live in a hotel? So I was asking her those kinds of questions because I didn't have any doubt about LaShawn Riggins' legal ability, and I didn't think that her legal talent or ability would even be the question, or that her legal talents and acumen would even, because if there was doubt, Herb would never, on his good name and reputation built on 3 decades, would have even put option one. It's not 2, it's not 3 or 4, it's option 1. He's placed that option 1 to promote the current deputy county attorney. A study of our votes here at the county likely will show that 80% of the time or greater, this board chooses option 1. I'm willing to put Christian Dozier's next paycheck on the line that I'm right. And I believe that, you want to second that? yeah, option 1. But here we are, and my concern right now is not with legal ability. It's with the other dynamics outside of legal. Could LaShawn bear? Is she Jackie Robinson? Because you won't have nobody to call. And I remember serving as a staff assistant to United States Senator Bob Graham, and how lonely that felt, how by yourself it feels, and do you have the intellect, the wherewithal, if you're second guess of your best ain't good enough, how do you improve? Who do you call? But I came away from our meeting with her that beyond and outside the scope of her legal talent, which she's been doing here at the county for 9 years, there's nothing new. She knows the zip codes, the communities, has actually probably written a lot of the opinions we've read. She knows where the bathroom is, where to park, all those stuff, nothing new. And I'm very, very comfortable with the continuity that she would provide, seamless, in the manner in which Vincent Long has provided. So perhaps it was not the vote of this commission that we had accepted and we received the grooming of Vince Long and everybody that was a part of the cadre of staff that worked then with Vince, under Vince, and it's been seamless and it's been fruitful. And I think that because of the longer view, looking back through the tunnel of time, I see similar cultivation. I see similar marination and maturation with LaShawn. And I think it would be a mistake on our part if we vacated and abdicated from the only process that I've seen among those two positions, and that was when Parwez Alam retired. So to the extent that we got some skimpy little precedent, that precedence is that we hired from within, and it has been the nature. If we took our HR director downstairs and put her in front of Judge Hankinson, and she promised to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, she would probably have to hold her hand up and say probably 75% of our most senior level major positions at Leon County have all been a process of maturating to a upward mobility, and there has been tenure attained in the service of our county for those who have been chosen. We've picked 75% of the time we have chosen from in-house. And that's the culture. That's been the nature. And that's why we have been so tight and right, because we have groomed from within. We have followed that kind of precedent. And when you look at our big senior staff positions, I think that as I look at Ms. Carey Post has come from outside of Leon County. When I look at Ms. Claudia Blackburn, we went to Texas and she came from outside of Leon County. The rest of these folk in here then all come up through Leon County. And that's why it would be a norm. It would be culturally same, S-A-M-E, and it's been our standard. And for a position this important as our county attorney, we don't want to miss the mark. And we don't have to raise the kind of, whatever that word you mentioned about what the city did, and we could just do what we do in Leon County, and we hire our very own, especially when we have groomed them and put the time into them, and we have loads of precedents. And to take this particular position and to treat it differently, well, I would feel, and I know I'm going to feel a certain kind of way, but today, option one is the one that I hope, once the commissioners make their rounds of speaking, I hope that today we will agree on option one, and that is to promote the current Deputy County Attorney, LaShawn Riggins. Thank you for your patience with me, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank all the folks who spoke and who submitted cards in wave of support, as well as the letters of support that we've received. Our Deputy County Attorney may very well be the best choice. I've not had a chance to have a conversation with her. I've been at the county for 6 months, and I've not had a chance to talk with her or get to know her. So that's not her fault. I just feel it's important for me to basically tell you my perspective on this. And for that reason, I think it's helpful for me to take a look at option two in terms of what's on, what's out there, what's available, with the idea that, if we were to do option two, get some candidates in, our Deputy County Attorney may very well appear and be the best person qualified. But from where I sit, having been on the County Commission for 6 months, and I just have not had a chance to get to work with her, I can't here today make a decision to support option one.
I have Commissioner Dozier in queue.
Mr. Chair, not to belabor this point, but I just wanted to make it clear, this is a distinction between county staff and the two people that this commission hires. I celebrate any organization that can develop talent over years and build it up. I mean, that's what we've done in the county attorney's office and in all of our departments. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. County Administrator, since 1990 or just before, this board has only hired 3 people, which is highly unusual for any county government or local government in general, from what I understand. So this is a rare thing for us. Most other local governments do it a whole lot more often, and I just wanted to be clear, because Commissioner Proctor, I actually agree with a lot of your comments, and it does happen every now and then, right? Now, I'm going to say those 80% of option one, we got a good staff, so that's good, but, you got to analyze who's on which side of what motion, right? Anyhow. So we do have some good debates up here. We talk about things openly as much as we can in the sunshine. I mean, we always talk in the sunshine, but as much as we can and have time for up here, that's what I meant. Reporters in the back room, yes. So bringing this in, I think there is a clear distinction between political hiring by this board and anyone else, and I think that in this case, we do a disservice to ourselves. The more progressive choice is going to be going for the policy and going forward. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Lindley, Commissioner Maddox. Before you go, Commissioner Lindley, I want to mention Gwen Marshall has waived in support of option one. She submitted a card as well. Commissioner Lindley.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that we can keep this as not a political hire, but a professional one. But I do think this is such a plum position, and Herb has made it so, that we will have a lot of candidates of great diversity from throughout the state and region coming up and being interested in maybe, I don't think it's going to be the case that we have this one and only shot to have diversity in this hire or many others. This is a great position. You've made it one of prestige and respect, and I think we're going to have a lot of candidates applying. So I just don't want us to leave this discussion thinking that there's never any opportunity for us to consider diversity among other qualities when we select a new county attorney. And this is a very big deal. Commissioner Minor, I share with you some of I know that Commissioner Proctor Commissioner Deloche have been on this board a long time. I've had more interaction, more experience, but I've learned right here today from this brief discussion we're having. I'm learning to think about this in different ways, and so I think going forward, we really have to have a robust discussion of policy going forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of discussion of potential candidates coming forward too.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindley. Commissioner Maddox.
Mr. Chair, I'll be brief. Back when we hired our county administrator, I made a decision, I guess that was our first couple of meetings, that I was going to vote in favor of placing him in that position without a search because I believe in his talents. I believe he can do the job. I can say here today that through the grooming of Perez Alam, he has shown to being able to do that. I am just as confident in the job that Attorney Riggins would do after she's been tutored by our county attorney for the years that she's been here. And so I do understand that, all the things we said here about a public search, a nationwide search, but I think we have somebody here that can do the job. And for that reason, I support option one. On top of everything else that Commissioner Proctor said, and Commissioner Lindley, I think he said it right, we don't want to make this a political hire. And as I thought about it when you said that, it's not a political hire if I truly believe in the candidate. And I truly, truly believe in the candidate. And I put my political credit card on the line to say that she's going to do a heck of a job if she's chosen. Whether we choose her today or we choose her later, she's going to do a heck of a job as our county attorney. And so, with that being said, I do support option one.
Thank you. I want to reinforce what Commissioner Proctor said, and that is that I have no reservations about LaShawn's qualifications as well. However, I do know that in this day and time, that it's important that we have as much transparency and as much out in the open hiring decisions as important as this one. Herb, in 1990, I was a 22-year-old college student, so I did not have any effect on your hiring at that time. But now, as a commissioner, I do have a say-so in it, and I think it's important that we have not only this process in option two, but also the policy that you mentioned, Commissioner Dozier, moving forward. With that said, we do have a motion that's made by Commissioner Lindley for option two and seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-2. Mr. Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes your general business agenda. Let me just say on that previous item, it was written in there, but I think I should note for the record that an agenda item will come back to you. We'll work with HR and the county attorney's office, as Herb mentioned. An agenda item will come back to you with a complete process, the steps in the process, the timeline, the criteria the board's looking for, et cetera, and we'll be bringing that back in June or July.
I think it's important to bring us back fiscal impact as well.
Sir.
All right. Are there any other items or any other speakers to speak? Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one speaker card, Alexandra Boswell.
Ms. Boswell, thank you for joining us tonight. And name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Alexandra Boswell, Claremont Lane. I'd rather not give the exact address if that's okay. Hello, Leon County Commissioners. My name is Alexandra Boswell. And I want to share something that's really important to me and to hundreds of kids across Leon County. The Leon County 4-H is an organization for youth. They reach hundreds of youth through school programming, summer camps, and community clubs. Currently, there are over 100 youth in 14 community clubs, and the goal is to increase the number. The renovations to the UF IFAS Extension Office on Paul Russell Road are potentially going to take away a large number of meeting spaces available for us to use and to impact the growth of our program. As a club leader, this is very disheartening and is going to make it extremely difficult for my club to continue the 4-H motto, which is to make the best better. I'm a club leader of the Wild About the Woods Club. The club has 20 members and is open to youth ages 8 to 18. We teach them all about the outdoors. They learn how to identify trees, plants, and wildlife. They learn about how to use a compass, how to pace, and how to use maps. They also learn all about the environment and how we can make the environment better. These aren't the only things that these things aren't taught in most schools, but they learn so much more than just the outdoors. I have seen the quietest youth become mentors. I have seen new kids in the community make some of their best friends. They teach each other things I couldn't even begin to teach them. They use this knowledge and represent the county at local events such as the North Florida Fair and have competed the last 3 years at the Florida 4-H Forestry Contest in Gainesville. We have placed every single year for the last 3 years. Our second place individual senior is in the room tonight. Why am I telling you this? Well, we meet at the UF-IFAS Leon County Extension Office. A little over a year ago, we were told that 15 other county employees would be moving into the building. We were also told that we would be able to keep our meeting spaces. What we are being told now is that this has changed. The current proposal is that we would only have one room to meet in. One room that we would not only have to potentially share with 14 other clubs, but the Extension Office programming as well as other county organizations that use our building. We understand that the renovation is going to require flexibility for us, depending on the space, and we encourage our kids to share. But we also are asking for assistance from you all to further our program. Why don't we use another space? Other spaces that have been identified and considered don't meet the criteria for our program. The Extension Office is the ideal space for the 4-H Club meetings. This space is really critical for the Wild About the Woods Club because the kids can see the real-world application of trees and plants that have specifically been placed outside the building. I have spent the last 3 years of my life making sure that these kids feel comfortable in the space, that they are welcomed, and that they have structure. In order for the 14 clubs and organizations that use the Extension Office as the meeting space to operate efficiently, I am asking you to allocate more than just 2 meeting spaces in the Extension Office. Please consider the hundreds of youth, dozens of volunteers that use just the space for 4-H alone. The building is more than just an office space. It's a community space. It's a building where kids feel at home and can grow into the adults we all know they can be. For consideration of this topic, I am asking that this be put as an agenda item on the next commission meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You squeezed a lot of it in there when the lights started changing. Good job. I'm very proud. Commissioner Dozier first. Commissioner Proctor. I think the administrator has a word of comment here. Go ahead, Mr. Administrator.
I just may be able to help with this. We'll continue to work with the group. I was a little confused. She said our building, so I was a little confused with that language.
I mean, it's the Extension Office, sorry. I should have used different wording.
This is a county building, and we've been very accommodating of 4-H. We couldn't be more supportive. We're working with them throughout this process, and we'll continue to do so.
Well, I wanted to put in my bias with and for 4-H. And to the extent that they need accommodating and that we can, though we've reached hard, my heart is totally given to 4-H. I'm biased. My children have come through 4-H. Their friends have come through 4-H. It's personal. I like 4-H. And if we can do something, to accommodate, that's the right word, accommodate them in their ask, if we would not give out of patience. It done got hot this summer. Everybody run out of patience. But it's supposed to cool off soon. And if we can chill and work some things out in that direction for the good of the kids. Our children are going to be out this summer. Our county is going to do a lot to accommodate kids in working and giving them experiences. I know 4-H, y'all taking them babies down there to Madison to Cherry Lake. I wouldn't do it, but y'all do that every year. Mercy. Helping our kids to stabilize. And a lot of those experiences, it looks good when these kids apply for college. And when you put that 4-H stuff on your application, we are empowering the students and giving them and it's competitive out there of kids outside of our county. So the long view is doing that which we can to enrich, to develop, and make sure that our kids have the wherewithal, the giddy up, to be competitive, and to be able to put on their applications this kind of stuff that 4-H represents when you go before a college admissions board is very vital. So I'm glad that my daughter, for one, and my sons all could put 4-H on their sheet of paper and apply and get in these schools. So that's how I feel about it.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. I think the county administrator has made it clear that he's going to work with them moving forward.
And I just want to stress that I'm just a club leader. I do not work in the building. I'm just noticing things, and it's really disheartening.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Boswell, thank you. And we did get, I want to just acknowledge, I think we all got an email from one parent expressing similar concerns. Mr. County Administrator, I have heard some concerns over the last 6-9 months, some consternation over the move, and I do understand that there are times when any change is going to be difficult, and it takes a while for everyone to work together on design and putting different organizations in the same building. And when we took up this item last summer, I thought it was, when we talked about it at the time, a lot of alignment between some of the programs in our Health and Human Services Department and those programs at IFAS. And I'm a huge fan of IFAS Extension, which includes 4-H, of branching out and really doing more with them and more partnerships. So I thought there was some opportunities there. Just given the comments we've heard today, and I wonder if this is coming up because of summer programs that are about to happen or preparing for next year, I'm not sure. I would love a formal update on this. Whether that's in a form of an email versus an agenda item first, and then we can go from there. I would like to know kind of where we are, even a status update, understanding there are questions you all probably can't answer right now. But I, for one, do think we need to ensure the viability of all programs, IFAS and our programs, look for benefits where we can find them with co-locating. Boy, that term's got in my head with transmission lines. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm using it all the time now. But probably not appropriate for the programs. But if there are perceived concerns or real concerns, I mean, I don't want to put any judgment on that. You know, as Ms. Boswell just said, I mean, a group director, there may be other ideas that are coming forth, but I think we all need to know about that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Commissioner. Let me just say, I think something is kind of lost here. I need to amplify is that, first of all, we're putting major improvements into the building, in a building that has suffered from significant disinvestment for a very, very long period of time. So that's good news. There are spaces where we have challenges relative to accommodating the functions in them. This ain't one of them. So I feel very optimistic that we will be able to accommodate all the uses in there, but we'd be happy to provide that update.
Mr. Chair, one quick question.
Sure, quick question.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned the improvements. The building has probably needed some upgrades for a while. Just quickly, have you gone through design fully already? Just a quick status. Are we at construction documents? Where are we at?
Sure. I can talk to you a little bit about design, and I could ask Maggie to come up. But let me just say this. We've been working with the staff from day one, a highly participatory process where we've received all of their buy-in for any changes that we've made. So if there's a moving target here, we're surprised about that at this point in time. But let me ask Maggie to come up and talk a little bit about where we are on the specific question you raised.
Thank you for that offer. If anyone else would like an update, that would be great right now. I didn't want to put you all on the spot necessarily. Mr. Chair, if you want additional information from Maggie, that's great. I think the email would be sufficient to really dig into the details, although we always love hearing from our Director of Resource Stewardship. So if you'd like to say anything, I didn't want to cut you off, Mr. County Administrator, but I know it's getting late, so an email with some added details would be great.
That's adequate for me. That pleases the board. Thank you. At this time, I think, do we have any other speakers?
Mr. Chairman, on that issue, I heard Commissioner Dozier mention the word design for a design. Is something going on that I don't know about?
Remodeling the building.
I'm not a designer, and let me check on that. When you talked about design.
Sure. So, as you know, Commissioners, we are in the process of redeveloping the Cooperative Extension site on Paul Russell Road. This was action taken by the board some months back when we sold the TDC offices and decided to move the tourism function to Amtrak. We will be moving the Amtrak offices to the Cooperative Extension offices. That includes housing, veteran services, volunteer services. These items have been before you all, and you have voted on those leading up to this point. And again, we will be putting significant investment into the existing Cooperative Extension building to better utilize those spaces. And there's significant synergies involved with the various people that we serve through those offices, and we think it'll make an improvement to all of the functions that are currently housed there.
Okay, I appreciate you mentioning that word. I think that I actually believe that this is an opportunity to put a design one of those fairground units. And while I agree with you, Ms. County Administrator, that there has been a long disinvestment in the corporate extension, but I actually 2 weeks ago saw the fairground was getting a new roof, a tin top, and to the extent that tin tops will not allow for any of those facilities to be storm ready. We looked at a storm and talking about properties or not, but that we'll continue to invest tin tops on county buildings is amazing, 21st century. I think that we ought to design a facility, and we have a chance to do a lot of co-locating on the fairground, and that we're rushing to to the extent that I use the word as an act of overcrowding, but to ghettoify the corporate extension environment and to create a municipal ghetto of too many services in one small little building is not, I think there are other ideas. I'm not sure who came up with that. But we don't have to ghettoify that office space. And I simply mean overcrowding, too many functions under one roof that was not designed, never planned for, and these people being, in a sense, preempted. And it's kind of like a word like Tallahassee, and you look for the people who named it Tallahassee, and they're not here. And you go out there looking for corporate extension, and we go out to a building with their name on it, but they won't be there. And something about that seems like a preemptive takeover of a space that they've grown familiar with. I know the South Side gets parceled in our thoughts and forgotten, but this is really an opportunity that we shouldn't crowd that space. We need to go to the fairground where there's lots of space and to rethink the public space, the public access, the public use, convention space, spaces for conferences from all of our universities, spaces for the state government to utilize, hearings. There's no parking nowhere, all of that. This is the hope, commissioners, that we would seize this moment, take this moment, and if we're talking about design, for God's sake, let's design and possibly co-locate the services we're talking about in a splendid way, and we have that chance. And let's not put them under a tin roof in the 21st century. Let's do it right. I hope that the design opportunity, that the designers will be as flexible and committed to the excellence of qualitative workspace as if it were in another part of our community, and not just the South Side. Thank you, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Any other speakers in queue to speak? Because I don't have any commissioners. All right, Mr. County Attorney, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one other item to bring up. You should have received a memorandum from me electronically and in paper form last week dealing with a lawsuit that we are currently working on, which is from O'Brien's Response Management, LLC. They are the entity that we retained to monitor the debris collecting company for Hurricane Hermine. They have sued us alleging that we owe them over $200,000 in unpaid fees, plus attorney's fees, plus whatever we would end up paying to defend the case. There's at least an argument to be made on both sides, so we have negotiated a much reduced fee of $75,000. We believe that that's a good thing, and that we recommend that we settle the case to pay them $75,000, and that would close out the Hurricane Hermine debris issue with us and with FEMA. And so I need you to authorize me to do that.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Maddox, duly seconded by Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. That's it.
I thought you said you had two things.
No.
Okay. Mr. Administrator.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Dozier. Comments?
Keep us on our toes, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I'm mixing it up a lot.
No, I like it. Okay. No, I actually don't have any items other than to say chairs, the meeting at Chairs Community Center last week was fantastic. It's not going to be an easy decision or an easy process for our wonderful staff to work through all the great comments we heard and all the different factors out there. If you remember, this is in our budget workshop about increased costs associated with the ball field that we've been starting work on. But the main thing I wanted to share was that a lot of promises have been made over time, and we may not have had the budget for it at different times, or we may have done the planning process years in advance of getting to the budget, and the desires of the community shift. I think we really got it right this time, and I want to celebrate our staff for saying, okay, we need to gut check this, but we're going to go to the community and really talk to them openly about what they want and what the best direction is. So I'm excited about that. I think we will have a good item on the 18th, so thank you, Mr. County Administrator. And lastly, I will have some fun, because I had some fun after the meeting. I walked down and interrupted a basketball game because nobody in the public meeting mentioned basketball. And there was about 15 young guys playing down there, one young woman watching. And I took a chance. Who knows what they were going to say, but I said, I want to interrupt your game. We're playing in the park. Give me your thoughts. And one young man walked up and said, do you work with Lee Davis? I've talked to her. And he had done a petition, and he knew, and he had really felt heard already. So I just want to give that shout out to Lee Davis, Parks and Rec, Maggie's team, Mr. County Administrator, everyone, because when I hear that come back, it's just a kid playing basketball, and he feels like he's being listened to, and the rest of his cohort, just really got involved, and we had a good short conversation, so they got back to their games. So shout out, and look forward to our conversation on June 18th. Thank you all.
Thank you. Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman, it's been a great meeting. I'm grateful to God Almighty for being alive. I'm grateful to God Almighty for being a county commissioner of the great county of Leon. I'm grateful to serve with you all. Respect, honor, love each of you. Nick, I understand I got to put on my traveling shoes and come see about some things, and I intend to do just that. And I don't know if we wear the same size shoe, but I know my shoes are a little slower than yours. But if you got a pair, I'm going to do some things. So thank you. Commissioners, you all the best. I don't care what they talk, what they say about you. Rick, they say those things about you, but you're all right with me. I got it. Mr. Chairman, may I leave, please?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, real quick, one thing while you're getting ready to leave, Commissioner Proctor. This is related tangentially to 32304 and the summit work and trying to find solutions for many of our families in Leon County who are struggling with poverty. This last week, Jody and I went on a tour of the Lively Technical College. And I think many of you, probably all of you, have been on that tour before and spoken with some of the staff and faculty there. Just want to kind of remind everybody about just an incredible asset that it is. They've got 40 different career programs there, 17 nighttime programs, HVAC, healthcare, CDL, cosmetology. These are trades that are in high demand. And when it comes to addressing the needs of many families that are struggling with poverty, it's a multidimensional problem, right? With regards to infant mortality, healthcare issues, food insecurity, we all have talked about those, very frequently, over and over again for years. The best way to address some of those overreaching problems of poverty is to help someone find a higher paying job. And so I just want to kind of share that again with everybody. When it comes to our economic development strategy, I think, just want to kind of reiterate, I think you all have said this before I was sworn in, about how Lively and vocational and technical colleges have a huge role, should have a potentially huge role for helping us address those needs. The second thing is, there are a number of veterans events leading up to Memorial Day yesterday, and I was just thinking over the weekend how proud I am to be part of a Leon County government that really recognizes and takes care of its veterans. With regard to, Stand Down, the Stand Down event that was on May 17th, with Leon County being involved in that. If for those of you that may not be aware, it's a weekend where veterans, many of whom are disadvantaged, can go and receive a whole host of support services, haircuts, legal services, food and water, those types of things. To have Leon County participate in that, I think it's the 5th annual event now, really does wonders for veterans in need. And then also on May 18th, I had the honor of going on the honor flight, which is also something that Leon County supports and is involved in. And one of the veterans there told me that when he returned from Vietnam in '68, the year I was born, he came into the airport and there was no one there to welcome him home, except for a couple people who were there to complain and protest about his involvement in the Vietnam War. The honor flight on May 18th was helped us, and I told him this. It chipped away, I think, that stigma that he's had whenever he thinks back about coming home, and that hopefully the homecoming for honor flight that we had on May 18th was a way to kind of address that problem. And I think actually walked with him as he walked back into the airport hangar off of the airplane, and I could tell it really helped. And so it was a great way to be a part of that, and to know that Leon County government is supporting that and involved in that was a really special day. So for any vets that are out there, whether you're in the audience or watching us online, if you're a vet who'd like to participate, go to the Honor Flight Tallahassee website, honorflighttallahassee.org, and sign up. I don't think the next date has been set for 2020 yet, but it's likely to be in May. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Proctor, you had
Mr.
your
Chairman,
time. I'm going to give
thank
you
you.
30
I'm so
seconds.
sorry.
30 seconds.
Mr. Chairman, I seek the support of this board for resolution proclamation acknowledging the legacy of Dr. LaSalle LaFall, perhaps, or at least among one of the greatest medical providers ever to come from our community. Dr. LaFall was the many years of chief of surgery at Howard University, Gaston County, finished high school at 15, graduated FAMU at 18, summa cum laude, graduated Howard University Medical School at 22, an oncologist. And I believe it was 1983 when President Ronald Reagan was our president. It was Dr. LaFalle who led the team of surgeons that operated on our then president with polyps, stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that our county, in the appropriate places and spaces that he would be recognized, could extend resolution to that family, the LaFalle family of Quincy.
Very good. Second? We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. You're excused. Commissioner Doge.
I have nothing, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Lindley, I think you're going on a trip real soon.
In the morning.
Oh, in the morning.
Yeah.
Cool.
Far away, far, far away. I just wanted to say, I think at our last meeting, we agreed to have 3 more concerts down at the amphitheater at Cascades Park, and I went to one on the 18th, Saturday before this past. It was an amazing event. I think somebody counted 1,500 or so people. It's a free event, kids and old folks and adults. I mean, every kind of person under the sun was there. It was a great event. It wasn't too hot. So I'm really looking forward we have 6 more coming through the fall. And so I just want everybody to know about these and be aware of what a wonderful opportunity is for us to celebrate as a community, a diverse community too, since that's a very important part of what our park is about. And the other thing is, Commissioner Meyer and I were at the ribbon cutting for Coach Jake Gaither's home, which has been restored over on Young Street. This is in cooperation with the State Department of Historic Resources, and the home is beautiful. It's going to be open for community events, sort of not really a museum exactly, but just another place for tourists and visitors to come see on the home of that legendary coach from Florida A&M. So it was a good week. We had a great time, and I'm also looking forward to a little getaway.
Good luck. Travel safely. Commissioner Maddox, I saved you for last because we need to find out where you got the tie from. I'm going to have to either borrow that for my next meeting.
Oh, man, this whole thing.
Yeah, that's
maybe we'll make a trade one day.
All right. Yeah. I'm sure you have some comments. Commissioner Maddox.
Good job today, Chair. You guys threw a good meeting and some pretty good time. Wanted to say that Cornelius is the young man who actually owns the Jake Gaither house. Yes. Bought the house, had no idea what he bought, and then recognized immediately. And I was one of the first people he calls. What should I do with it? I said, restore it, man. Yeah. So he's a fraternity brother of mine. I'm very proud of what he's doing. And the fact that he did preserve it and allow it to be a museum for people to see how a legendary coach right here in Leon County lived throughout his time here. A lot of people, everybody knows who Coach Bobby Bowden is. I think just many people know who Coach Jake Gaither is. And so we're blessed to have 2 legends when it comes to coaching the great sport of college football to have come through this area. And I'm proud of what he did with that house and restoring it. Hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend. I certainly did. We spent some family time. Was going to tell Commissioner Proctor in person congratulations on his daughter graduating, but he got out of here early. Mr. Administrator, I wanted to ask you about as far as the process that we talked about with the tax credits and stuff like that. Is that something that our housing authority could look at, or is that some kind of special program that maybe out-of-staters are only privy to?
I would say that it's something that our housing authority is charged with looking at as part of their standing function. And so they're always looking at opportunities to do that, to leverage that, but oftentimes it requires developers to apply, and we'll sort of take them from wherever they come from.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the Finance Authority moving in the direction of doing that bonding. I mean, it sets a good precedence of the way we're trying to move here in Leon County when it comes to redevelopment of those properties. But when Commissioner Proctor was speaking about I think he was talking more so about single-family homes. I don't think we can actually do that, can we, Mr. Administrator, as far as using Housing Finance Authority bonding ability to redevelop single-family homes?
I would have to get you the answer to that. I'm just not sure.
We'll talk about it offline. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. We do not have a scheduled public hearing. I do have Commissioner Dozier in queue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have 30 seconds, because if you get a second try, you get 30 seconds.
Well, I'm still in my first try.
Okay.
Okay. One thing I forgot to say, and we all probably forgot to say, is that we have a whole bunch of people graduating from high school this year.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, this is an extraordinary time for those high school seniors that are going to be leaving their respective high schools to go into training to be in our trades or to go off to whatever college they pick or community college. So to all those graduates, congratulations, whether you are on north, east, west, or south sides of town. We appreciate the time that you spent 12 years of learning in our school system, whether it was public or private. I was a public school product, so I'm a little biased. But congratulations to those who graduate this week.
Commissioner Dozier?
I'm glad he said all of that, because that deserved the 30 seconds that I had. So I'm just going to say this, because I'm going to be in trouble if I don't. I don't get many milestones like this. I got a crash course in having kids in the house. I got 3 years. And at our graduation party for Walker Red this Sunday, someone called me an empty nester, and that felt very weird. But to just take the high school years has been a remarkable experience. So to Walker Webb and all of the other graduates, congratulations. And we do have a fantastic summer. And Mr. Chair, enjoy your summer. We'll see you back for your second job.
Yeah.
June the 8th, press the chest. Big chance to get out and learn CPR. The county has trained, 1,500 plus people over the years. Great way to learn a great thing to save some people's lives.
Commissioner Maddox? Okay. Thank you for the best wishes. Yeah, some of the folks have been counting down since, I think, April. However, we are approaching the end, and we're looking forward to that and getting folks home safely for the summer. It's always a pleasure to serve with you. We do not have a scheduled public hearing, so this will adjourn our meeting for the evening. Thank you.